The key point was that Long Fei was still in the crowd leisurely, as if he did not take it seriously. The key point was that Long Fei was still in the crowd leisurely, as if he did not take it seriously. How could they stop Yuan Ling from panicking? Long Fei smiled at them from within the crowd and made an okay gesture. Actually, he also wanted to hurry up. However, he noticed that the people around him were continuously squeezing him, and they even tried to harm him. There were even some people who took out a knife and stabbed it into his waist. Fortunately, his reaction was quick, otherwise, he would have been injured. I'll be fucked. Isn't it just an examination? You want my life? Long Fei muttered in his heart as he looked at the group of strangers with dark expressions. Suddenly, Long Fei placed a hand on a person's shoulder, swiftly tightened his neck, and said with a deep voice, "Brat, I'll F*** your sister, or have fun with your sister. How dare you hit me so viciously?" The disciple had his throat strangled and was having difficulty breathing. However, he still arrogantly said, "This is all because of you offending the Zhou family. Kid, today is the day you die." As soon as he finished, a dagger pierced forward, aiming straight at Long Fei's heart. If he was stabbed, he would definitely die. However, Long Fei's brows tightened and muttered, "Zhou family." While he was speaking, Long Fei did not defend, but the god power in his right arm suddenly moved. Crack! The disciple's neck was broken. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for defeating Zhou family minor Luo for obtaining 800 experience, 100 true chi, and 100 energy values. The system sounded out. Zhou family minion Luo. Long Fei looked at the system and said in his heart, "Seems like the Zhou family will not let me go this time. Good, they can also give me some experience, hee." That disciple fell to the ground, trampled by a large group of people until his face became unrecognizable. At the same time, a few more Zhou family henchmen pressed forward. Long Fei stood in the middle of the crowd, using the crowd as a cover, and continued to attack and kill the disciples who were attacking him. He would never show the slightest mercy to someone who wanted to harm him. One word: kill. Ding, ding, ding. The system beep continued to ring. Long Fei was constantly torturing and killing those in the crowd, but no one realized that he was the one who did it, because those people on the ground all suffered internal injuries as they were stepped on, as if they were stepping on an event. Moreover, in addition to them, there were also some who were unlucky to the point of accidentally falling and being trampled to death. This happens every year. However, too many people had died today. Boss, hurry up. Long Fei, hurry up. Yuan Ling and Yoda Hai did not know what Long Fei was trying to do in the middle of the crowd. At this moment, Zhou Tianyin walked over, stared at Yoda Hai, and said with killing intent, "Fatty Nyo, don't worry. It's just the first stage. We're just giving him some face. We'll still let him pass." As for the second stage, Yoda Hai's mind tightened and immediately shouted, "Zhou Tianyin, what are you trying to do?" Zhou Tianyun's eyes turned sinister. "Killing people to pay with your lives. My younger brother Zhou Tianxiao's life is in your hands. Do you think I will let you off? First him, then the both of you. Don't even think about escaping. Do you really think our Zhou family is easy to bully?" Zhou Tianyun's gaze fell on Yuan Ling and said with cold contempt, "Bitch, my little brother likes you so much, yet you're hooked on a bastard dog. Humph, just you wait and see. See how I'll play him to death." Finished. Without waiting for Yuan Ling's response, Zhou Tianyun led the 300 inner disciples to chase up. These were the 300 elite disciples of the outer sect. Many of them were experts of the War Elder Realm, and some were even experts of the War Master Realm. Yuan Ling and Yoda Hai were stunned. Yoda Hai was as impotent as an impotent son. "The boss is in danger. What do we do?" Yuan Ling took a step forward and shouted, "I want him to withdraw from the examination. It's too dangerous." Without waiting for her to leave the training grounds, she was stopped by Chen Lihu. She laughed coldly. "Yuan Ling, the examination has already begun. You cannot interfere in it. These are the sect's rules, understand?" Yuan Ling's eyes were ice cold. He still did not care. She still went after him. At this time, Chen Lihu bellowed, "You dare to ignore me? Ignore the rules of the sect? Men, seize him. Attack the 100-spirit rod again. Nyodahai was startled and immediately knelt down. Elder Chun, junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling, is not interfering with the assessment. She just wants to go down the mountain. Please be magnanimous. As they spoke, Nyodahai quietly handed over the 3 spirit stones that he only had. Chun Lihu smiled slightly. After taking the spirit stone, he suddenly raised the spirit stone in his hand and shouted, Nyodahai, you actually dare to bribe the elder. What do you think I am? Man, come. He will also be punished severely. As he said that, he kept the 3 spirit stones into his pocket with a face full of contempt and sneered, You want to bribe me with only 3 spirit stones? TCH. Trash. A few of Nyodahai's disciples held back, looked at Chun Lihu and asked why. Chun Lihu sneered and said, Why? Because you've offended someone you shouldn't have, understand? Ha ha. Chun Lihu laughed out wildly and said, Drag him down and ruthlessly beat him up. If he resists, the punishment will be doubled. If he resists again, kill him. This was his territory. He could do whatever he wanted, and no one would be able to stop him. Nyodahai and Yuan Ling were dragged down the stairs as he loudly scolded. Chun Lihu, F*CK, your 18 generations of ancestors, you old thing will die a horrible death. Yuan Ling did not say anything, but looked down at the Xianjin Peak. She was worried about Long Fei. The Zhou family definitely would not let him pass the examination alive. Zhou Tianyun was even less capable. They wanted to find that Zhou Tianyun was an expert of the War Master Ream. Yuan Ling prayed in his heart, Long Fei, you must be careful. You must pass the examination. As long as you become an official disciple of the Xianjin sect, the Zhou family will not dare to touch you. Once one became a disciple of the Xianjin sect, their status would be different. If the Zhou family still wanted to make a move on Long Fei, they would have to think about it. Not long after, with the swing of the rod, Nyodahai let out a roar like a pig being butchered and scolded, Chun Lihu, you will die a horrible death. A stick blossomed. In addition, these bats were very special. In the game, they had armor-piercing damage. And then there was Long Fei. On the way, he killed more than 10 people. They all broke their necks. With the experience increased by a little, the true chi recovered a little, but the striking energy value was filled up. Finally, they arrived outside the gigantic sword tomb. It was a huge cave, and written at the entrance of the cave were 2 incomparably sharp words, Sword Tomb. Seeing these 2 words, Long Fei's heart trembled, as though he felt some kind of intense sword intent attack him. Sister-in-law, 1-/+ health, strongest upgrade system, very strong. Each stroke was filled with a strong power, just like a set of unfathomable sword technique. The more he looked at the 2 words, Sword Tomb, the more shocked Long Fei was. Suddenly, Chapter 3. Thank you for becoming the 2nd Alliance Master of this book. Thank you. 8_8419/2356590. Top of Xianjin Peak. Top of Xianjin Peak. A few old men riding on flying swords flew out from the summit and landed in the air above the sword tomb. One of them stroked his beard and said with a smile, This year's disciples are all top talents of different places, so there should be a surprise. I hope so. Heaven Sect's Hong Tianjun is too much of a pressure on us. The strongest person among the young generation of the southern domain. His strength has already reached the War Emperor realm. It can no longer be described as a genius anymore. An old man frowned. The other female elder slightly said, Hong Wanjue is Heavenly Sect Master Hong Wantu's son. He is not powerful with the sword, nor is he talented in terms of potential, but rather the blood vein. I heard that he is hiding an extremely powerful blood vein in his body, and he has reached the War Emperor realm before the age of 20. Sai, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's see what kind of special disciples we have this year. Perhaps, among these 100,000 disciples, there might be 1 or 2 that are even fiercer than Hong Wanjue. A few elders looked at the disciples outside of the sword tomb. They all knew in their hearts that the number 1 genius of the South Horizon region, Hong Wanjua, was unrivaled even in the last several 100,000 years. In the entire South Horizon region, no one's talent could compare to Hong Wanjua's. Their hopes towards these 100,000 disciples were nothing more than empty words. They all knew in their hearts that no one could compare to Hong Lingtong. It was just that. They also wanted to find one or two talented disciples who could at least raise the sect's morale. This was because in the South Horizon region, the pressure that Hong Wanjue had given them was simply too great, and they couldn't withstand the pressure. Looking at the disciples below who were using up all their sword tomb, the four elders smiled bitterly. One of them said, "Seems like it's even worse this year than last year. At least Zhou Qianyu was able to hold on last year. I'm afraid this year. If everyone is like Zhou Qianyu, then our Xianjian sect will be able to contend with the Heaven sect." Zhou Qianyu's comprehension towards the way of the sword has already reached an astonishing level. He's already a genius amongst geniuses. How many people in the entire South Horizon region can compare to him? Cultivate Zhou Qianyu properly. In the future, there won't be any problems with his war emperor realm. At least you can earn some face for the Xianjian sect. The four of them were a little disappointed with this year's disciples, because these disciples only knew about the assessment, and many people did not even know what the sword tomb was. Sword tomb, sword grave, just as they left in disappointment. The female elder was surprised. "Wait, what do you think the youth is doing?" "Which one?" The female elder pointed at Long Fei, who was silently standing there. At this time, Long Fei had picked up a small branch in his hand. The other three looked over. An elder said slightly, "They should be unable to squeeze in." Another elder said, "It doesn't look like it. Look at him with his eyes closed, as if he's trying to comprehend something." What is he looking at?" "He's staring at the two-word sword tomb. Could it be?" Suddenly, the four of them looked at each other, and their faces sank. They said almost at the same time, "Did he comprehend something?" The four of them held their breaths as they quietly looked at Long Fei. He was extremely nervous, as if his life and death were at stake. Long Fei's mind rumbled, and then Long Fei picked up a tree branch from the ground and closed his eyes. It was also at this moment. His mind was attracted by some kind of strong force, and Long Fei gave up on controlling it. With a swoosh, the power of his mind entered the word sword tomb. Schwa, sword drawing arts. Schwa, raise the sword. Broken sword style. When the solitary 9 swords was unleashed, it was completely out of Long Fei's control, and he could not help but unleash the sword technique. At the same time as he used it, the sharpness of the word sword tomb constantly appeared in his mind. The sharpness was like lifting something heavy as though it was light, but it was also like pulling up mountains and rivers. "What is this?" Long Fei cannot help but ask. "Where are we?" "This is the Sword Saint space. You are the first person to enter the Sword Saint space so far." An ancient voice resounded in the void. It was very special, as if the voice of someone who hadn't made a sound in a million years. "Sword Saint space?" Long Fei was startled. "I am quite clear about Sword Saint E, but I don't know if he has the space or not." Cough, cough, cough. "Even though this is the Sword Saint space, and my surname is E, I'm not a master. I'm a Sword Saint. Kid, since you were able to open the Sword Saint space, it shows that you have a very unique potential, and your understanding of the way of the sword is higher than ordinary people. I have stayed here for 1,000,000 years, and even the first-generation sect master of the Xianjian sect only left with a peerless divine sword, unable to open the Sword Saint space." The first-generation sect master of Xianjian sect? It seems like the legends are true. Long Fei immediately giggled. "Senior, the Grand Master of Xianjian sect did not open the Sword Saint space and obtain a supreme divine sword. If I open the Sword Saint space, would I get a reward of 10 peerless divine swords?" "Wow, 10, this is too exciting. 1 to Jojo, 1 to Lu Luoxi, 1 to Zian, 1 to Xiao Tian Tian, 2 on his shoulders, 2 on his back, 2 in his hands, 10 divine swords. Won't they beat you? I, your father, will smash you to death with my holy artifact." Long Fei started to become smug. "No way. 1 exchange point is enough. If we go and catch the golden dragon, our days will be even better. Long Fei was excited again. The matter of him killing the golden dragon in one shot really made him nostalgic. The lottery system was too exciting. Just when he was about to marry those rich and beautiful ladies and walk towards the peak of his life, the Sword Saint suddenly shouted, "The supreme divine sword is gone." Then, Long Fei's beautiful dream shattered as she asked doubtfully, "You're the Sword Saint, right? If you don't have a peerless divine sword, there will definitely be other better holy artifacts that would fit your identity as the Sword Saint, right? Even if you don't have a peerless divine sword, you should at least give it to me. What about a peerless divine blade?" The Sword Saint said no. Long Fei was a little unhappy. "I was the one who activated the Sword Saint's base. There must be some other sword, right? Even if it wasn't a holy artifact, it was fine. Exchange points are also good." However, the Sword Saint said, "I don't have any more swords left." Long Fei stared at him with slanted eyes. He kept staring without moving, staring for more than 10 minutes. "Do you feel embarrassed? You should at least give me something now, right?" The Sword Saint replied, "None at all." Long Fei rolled his eyes and said, "Can't you play around?" The fourth chapter. Thank you, Tears of Qingsheng, for becoming the second chief of this book. Thank you. 8_8419/2356591. Sword Saint Space? Sword Saint Space? It was simply a divine space. Long Fei thought that if he could obtain the peerless divine sword by not opening the Sword Saint space, then he would have obtained even more things when he opened the Sword Saint space. However, he was simply overthinking it. Long Fei said angrily, "You really don't have anything?" Sword Saint, "Nothing." "All right." Long Fei calmed himself down and suddenly shouted, "What did you bring me here for, without any holy artifact? Wasting my time. Goodbye." "No, I don't want to see her again." Long Fei turned and left. How infuriating. You're a master swordsman after all. Even if you don't have a sword in your hand, you should at least give me some god-level skill like Alpha Assault or something. Otherwise, you could just give me a big move. After coaxing him for half a day, Long Fei had thought that he had obtained a peerless secret treasure, causing him to be excited for the greater part of the day. What a scam. Long Fei even had the heart to kill. Just as he was about to leave, the Sword Saint immediately said, "Little brother, don't be in such a hurry." Long Fei said angrily, "No rush your sister." It was not easy for the Sword Saint to send someone over. He could not just let Long Fei go like this. Long Fei had waited for a whole million years for someone to arrive, so he immediately put on a fawning expression and said, "Little brother, I do not have a sister." Long Fei. The Sword Saint hurriedly said, "I really don't have any more peerless divine swords. The fact that you were able to enter here proves that you have great talent in the way of the sword. Therefore, I am going to pass on the Sword Saint's legacy to you." Long Fei waved his hand and said, "I'm not interested. What I want is a peerless divine sword." "Wait, what did you just say? Sword Saint legacy? Is there an Alpha Assault? Do you have the great technique of Sword Saint, Highland bloodline?" The poison in Long Fei's game was too deep, so much so that even his face could not be seen through while wearing a helmet, and his hand holding onto a long sword appeared in his mind. The Sword Saint was a little confused. He shook his head. "No, I didn't. F***CK. Without these, what the heck are you inheriting? Come here, I'm going to leave this place." Long Fei immediately looked down on him. The Sword Saint protected Long Fei's thighs as he sobbed. "Don't be like this. I still haven't given you the Sword Saint's inheritance. Don't leave." "You're not letting go." Long Fei didn't take this lying down. "If you don't let go of me now, I'm going to beat you up." The Sword Saint said, "If you kill me, I won't let you go. Unless you agree to accept my Sword Saint legacy, I definitely won't let you leave." You want to return the Sword Saint to him like this. The Sword Saint's hammer is about the same. Long Fei scolded, "Hurry up and let go of me. I still have to take the assessment." Thinking of the examination, Zhang Xian's heart tightened. He only had 10,000 qualifications. If he missed it, then nothing else. He really did not want to disappoint Yuan Ling and her. nor did he want to fail the mission. One must know, that was a special reward that he would get from Yuan Ling. This special reward couldn't be missed no matter what. Long Fei immediately shouted, "Let go of him. I won't let you off even if you beat me to death." The Sword Saint acted like a scoundrel and said, "Unless you explain the Sword Saint's legacy." A million was too long. He didn't want to wait any longer. As long as Long Fei accepted the Sword Saint's legacy, he would be able to complete his mission and return to his world. "What about a Sword Saint like you?" Long Fei had a look of despise on his face, and since he was forced to the point where he had no other choice, he said, "All right then, hurry up. I don't have much time left." There was really no other way. Had never seen a Sword Saint like this before. It would be great if he could imagine the Sword Saint chopping up those apricots in the game. But the Sword Sage here, he was truly speechless. When Long Fei agreed, the Sword Saint crawled up immediately and said excitedly, "It won't take long before it's over. Sit down. Then, empty your mind." Long Fei did as he was told. He didn't have time to explain further. All he wanted now was to end it quickly. And then, through the sword tomb, Wong. Suddenly, in Long Fei's world, a shocking bolt of lightning. More accurately, it should be the astonishing sword intent that was as heavy as lightning as it struck at his mind. Long Fei's body sank and broke out in a cold sweat. However, fortunately he did not. Otherwise, Long Fei would have resisted instantly. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for successfully fusing with Shocking Sword Spirit. You have gained 100 points of experience points, 100 points of true chi, and 100 points of points. Boom! Yet another sword intent struck his mind. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 100 experience points from the fusion of Unity Sword Intent, 100 true chi, and 100 points. Boom! Ding! Boom! Ding! Every time the sword intent struck down, a system notification would ring out. The 80 consecutive sword intents exploded in Long Fei's mind. The last one. Boom! Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 100 experience points from the fusion of Sword Saint Sword Intent, 100 true chi, and 100 points. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 81 sword intents. True chi 100 points. Reward 100 points. 81 sword intents exploded consecutively. With every heavy blow, Long Fei's mind seemed to have received a kind of power. The sword intent churned in his mind as his comprehension of the way of the sword was raised to an extremely high realm in that short moment. The Sword Saint said, "The inheritance is complete." "Young man, what's your name?" Other than feeling his mind filled with sword intent, Long Fei did not feel any discomfort. He replied, "Long Fei." The Sword Sage said, "I hope that you can bring out the Sword Sage's true meaning to great heights. I'll be relying on you to continue the Sword Sage's legacy." "Long Fei, I will remember this name. I'll wait for you in another world." With that, he disappeared like a wisp of smoke, as though afraid that Long Fei would grab hold of some peerless divine sword. "What other world? Hey, they really run fast." Long Fei mumbled. He still wanted to ask if the Sword Saint's legacy had any other special uses besides sword intent. He did not expect this fellow to run even faster than a dog. "Huff!" Long Fei exhaled and said, "Forget it. Such a shameless Sword Saint would definitely not have anything good. I'm too lazy to bother with it." How could a Sword Saint fall to such a state? Long Fei did not believe it. Now that the Sword Saint was gone, he could leave this space as well. My test. Oh no, I hope there's still time. Long Fei was a little worried. After all, he had stayed in the Sword Saint space for too long. http:// The moment he returned to the real world, he was stunned. There were no changes to his surroundings, and that was when his mind entered the Sword Saint space. Long Fei looked at the two words Sword Tomb. It was also at this time. Ding. Chapter 5. Thank you, Tears of Qingsheng, for becoming the second alliance head of this book. Thank you. 8_8419/2356592. The system sounded out. The system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for comprehending the Holy Sword 81 moves. Do you wish to cultivate it? Long Fei was a little confused. Comprehending what? Holy Sword 81 moves? He only took a quick glance and instantly understood the sword technique hidden within the two words sword tomb. What kind of concept was this? Back then, when he did not have the Sword Saint's legacy, Long Fei had been looking at it for a whole few minutes. But he could not comprehend any sword techniques, and now he could comprehend the Holy Sword 81 moves in an instant. Cultivate. Cultivate. Long Fei was unable to react in time. Ding! Training successful. Long Fei opened up the skill system to have a look. Skill path. Holy Sword 81 moves grade. Divine level proficiency. Consumption. 1 strike points the true chi. Cooldown. None description. 9981 swords. 9981 transformations. 1 sword and 1 sword intent. Ever-changing and unpredictable. Description 2. The Power of Sword Saint's Inheritance. Description 3. Cultivating the Great Perfection stage allows one to enter the Sword Saint mode. Looking at the system's description of the Holy Sword 81 moves, Long Fei was a little stunned. 9981 swords, 81 sword intents, 1 sword. Awesome. Is this the inheritance of the Sword Saint? Holy *T. But 1 sword for 10,000 true chi s, 81 sword for 81,000 true chi s. When the *CK, is this going to be able to display the complete set of sword technique? This is too darned. Long Fei was very unhappy about this. He only had 30,000 true chi s on him right now, which meant that when the value of the true chi was full, he could only unleash 30-odd swords. Over 300,000 true chi s could not even finish unleashing 1 set of sword technique. What the heck is this concept? Long Fei did not dare to imagine that it would be so terrifying. First level proficiency only has 10,000 points. How long is this training going to last? Long Fei said bitterly, I am afraid that I will never be able to enter Sword Saint mode again. Even though it was bitter. However, Long Fei was very clear that the harder it was to cultivate, the more ferocious its power was. I can be sure now. The Sword Saint's inheritance was extremely powerful, and the Holy Sword 81 moves was even much better than the Peerless Divine Sword. Long Fei muttered, Why did you say such a good thing earlier, and why did you run so fast in the end? It's not like I'm going to eat him. Suddenly, Long Fei thought of a very important question. Exam. Damn, I almost forgot. As he spoke, he threw the branch in his hand towards the crowd and shouted, Look, there's a senior sister beauty taking off her clothes. Walala. Everyone immediately turned around and stopped. He looked around. Where is senior sister taking off her clothes? That grandson is lying. You will die a horrible death and curse your son for having 2 assholes. *CK. That's for your daughter's own good. You're too abnormal. Taking advantage of the moment they were distracted, Long Fei raised his speed to the limit and rushed into the cave of the Sword Tomb. At this moment, the 4 elders in the sky sighed. What a waste of time. My training hall would never accept such a cunning disciple. I had thought that he had realized something, but it turns out he is just a tease. Who brought this kind of disciple? He simply doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the Xianjian sect selection. Even if he becomes a disciple of the Xianjian sect, he would only embarrass the Xianjian sect in the future. Seems like this year's disciples are all trash. Sigh. The 3 elders' eyes were filled with scorn. They thought that Long Fei had comprehended something just by looking at the 2 words Sword Tomb, because they knew very well that if one's understanding of the way of the sword had reached a deep realm, one would be able to see many things from the 2 words Sword Tomb. For example, sword techniques or sword intent. Zhou Qianyu had comprehended a 9th grade Heaven Calamity sword art just from looking at the 2 words Sword Tomb last year. The moment Long Fei picked up the tree branch, their minds tensed up. The moment Long Fei threw the branch at the crowd, they were all disappointed and even cursed. The female elder stayed for a moment longer. As she watched Long Fei rush into the Sword Tomb, the space between her eyebrows slightly furrowed, Did you really manage to comprehend something? It doesn't look like it. The feeling he gave her was that Long Fei was not ordinary at all. She felt as if something had instantly appeared in Long Fei's body. Because, in the past, she had also comprehended a secret technique, Sword Heart, in front of the two words Sword Tomb. Her perception of the power of the sword was much stronger than ordinary people, and she felt that Long Fei's body was very different. However, she couldn't tell what was different. She was just guessing. That's all. Maybe I was overthinking it. She laughed bitterly, raised her flying sword, and flew towards Xinjian's sect. The next assessment was no longer important. Xinjian's sect was a sect that trained in the way of the sword, and their comprehension in the way of the sword was especially important. The two words Sword Tomb in front of them was the best test. If no one could comprehend it, then it meant that the talent of the 100,000 disciples was only average. In the Sword Tomb, it was like another world. They were all mountains filled with swords, each one seemingly without end. When Long Fei stepped into the Sword Tomb, buzz, 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 buzz. The swords that filled the mountains were all emitting sword hums. They were all trembling because some sort of power seemed to have activated them. Long Fei also felt it and looked around at the sword mountains. His heart shivered. Damn, why do I feel like everyone is staring at me? This feeling was very special. It was a mountain full of swords, all sorts of swords. It was as if pairs of eyes were staring at Long Fei. Long Fei felt that if he moved, all of the swords would follow. Hurry up. More than 8,000 disciples have already left. We only have about 1,000 slots left. Everyone, hurry up and charge. Long Fei was shocked. He immediately recovered and was too lazy to think anymore. We'll talk after we pass the first round. Immediately. Teleport. Shua. Long Fei rushed up the sword mountain, and the swords there started to sway frantically, making sounds of metal striking metal. 10 minutes later, Long Fei used all of his speed of drinking milk. Even when he was facing Hong Tianjun, he had never been in such a sorry state. He finally saw the exit. Long Fei's heart relaxed, and he rushed towards the exit. Several disciples were guarding the exit, and beside the exit was a huge black stone. The number of people who passed the Sword Tomb was displayed on the black stone. It was now more than 9,800. There were only 200 spots, and there were a few hundred in front of Long Fei. Too late. Long Fei cannot care so much. With the release of his 5 fingers and 1 palm, he released a stream of power. Dozens of swords flew out and scattered throughout the sky. Everyone come and snatch the spirit sword. The sword on the mountain of swords was very special. When the disciples saw him, they immediately swarmed towards him like a swarm of bees. Long Fei laughed excitedly, and with a single step, he rushed to the exit to look at the number. I've finally caught up to the 999th place. It was also at this time, for official disciples blocked Long Fei's path and said, Kid, hand over the fare. Chapter 6. Thank you, Ching Ching's Tears, for becoming the second alliance head of this book. Thank you. Table of Contents 8_8419/2356593. Kid, pay the fare. Kid, pay the fare. An official disciple blocked Long Fei's way with a sword. Long Fei was slightly taken aback. What passage fee? Isn't it an assessment? The disciple smiled slyly and said, Yes, but you will have to pay the fare. The other 3 people also looked at Long Fei with playful cold smiles. Pada, you passed another one. Numbers indicate 9,991 passed. Long Fei asked, Why doesn't he need to pay the fare? He is him. You are you. You're different from others. The disciples said playfully. At this moment, Pada, 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 the 3 of them passed. Only 6 slots remained. Long Fei's eyes became sinister, and he said, You are also the Zhou clan's dogs? The faces of the 4 official disciples changed as they shouted, Kid, I think you are tired of living. Pata, Pata, Pata. Yet another 3 people entered, leaving only 1 spot. In addition, those people all rushed over, and they looked just like fierce beasts from the prehistoric era. It was too late. Long Fei lifted his eyes slightly and made a grasping motion with his palm. Shwa! A sword flew out from the sword mountain and landed in Long Fei's hands. Then Long Fei lowered his sword and said, I will use you guys to practice the first sword of the Holy Sword 81 moves. Skills activated. 10,000 true Chi-s disappeared. Long Fei's voice burst out like lightning, causing the idea to shout, Shocking Sword Spirit. Within his mind, a surge of shocking sword spirit was released like a tornado. Shwa 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 shwa. The death sword struck. Ding, 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 ding. 4 prompting sounds rang, and Long Fei said fiercely, Take your father's toll. Your brains are pretty much stuffed into shit. Finished. Long Fei did not stay any longer and took the initiative to rush towards the entrance. The moment he entered the exit, the number jumped to 10,000 and the exit door closed. At this moment, the 4 official disciples stood there motionlessly with lifeless eyes. There were no wounds on their bodies. It was as if they were alive. However, one of them gently touched a disciple's body. Bam! His body fell to the ground. Pa! His body split into pieces, as if his 5 horses were dismembered. It was an incomparably tragic scene. Pa! Pa! The other 3 corpses were the same. The moment they fell to the ground, their bodies seemed to have been cut into pieces. There were screams all around. He was completely flustered. It was as though they had seen a ghost. Many of them were so scared that they fell to the ground, paralyzed. Holy Sword 81 moves. First sword, Heaven Shocking Sword. A single sword strike had shocked the heavens. His body felt like it was being sliced apart. And in that instant, the dead man didn't feel any pain, because in that instant he died. He didn't even feel any pain. The moment it touched the corpse, the body would fall to the ground, break apart, and shoot out explosively. This was the shocking sword spirit. This was the legacy of the Sword Saint. Long Fei did not see. He only knew that the Holy Sword 81 moves was extremely powerful, and the shocking sword spirit just now was even more brutal. However, he didn't have the mind to care about that right now. Right now, he needed to kill the demon beasts as soon as possible, because the second round of the exam had already begun. He was the last one to enter the hunting grounds. In other words, he only had a short amount of time. The 9,000 disciples in front of him might have already killed too many demon beasts. Of these 10,000 people, only 1,000 would be taken. He had to move faster, or else he really would. Think about the mission. Thinking about the look in Yuan Ling's eyes that was full of anticipation. No matter what, they couldn't lose. In another place, the matter of the sword tombs closing soon spread to the Xinjiang Peak. At the same time, the death of the 4 official disciples caused a sensation. The outer sect elders all quickly entered the sword tomb to check. Seeing the bodies of the 4 disciples split up, and each piece was as sharp as a knife, it was hard to understand why. Chen Lihu frowned and asked, Could it be this sword mountain? The few elders looked at the surrounding Jianshan. Who could do such a thing? In terms of cultivation, this kind of cultivation method, this kind of strength was absolutely not something that an ordinary person could achieve. Not at all. The only possibility was that the sword tomb was doing something. Chen Lihu asked solemnly, Has anyone attacked them before? No one. We are all here to participate. Who dares to fight against an official disciple? When we arrived, they were standing here. With a light bang, they fell to the ground. Their bodies split apart, so we didn't do anything. They told the truth. This was no trivial matter. Chen Lihu also said slightly, 4 official disciples have mysteriously died. I think this matter is related to the sword tomb. Junior brothers, what do you think? At this moment, one of the disciples said lightly, I saw 4 senior fellow apprentices talking to one person, and it seems like they're having an argument. I wonder if their death has something to do with this? Chen Lihu immediately took a step forward and asked, Who are you bickering with? That disciple said, I don't know him either. I also know that he seems to be very arrogant and does not put the 4 senior fellow apprentices in his eyes at all. Chen Lihu asked, If I let you recognize it, would you recognize it? The disciple did not immediately reply. Chen Lihu said, If you can recognize it, I will give you a special reward so that you can break the rules and become a Xianjian sect disciple. As soon as he finished, that person immediately replied, yes. The corner of Chun Lihu's mouth raised slightly and said, okay, come with me later. He had his own plans. His plan was that regardless of who killed the 4 official disciples, or if they were killed by the strange power of the Sword Mountain, he would blame this crime on a single person. Since that person was rich, he had to help others get rid of their troubles. Not to mention, the Zhou family was currently in the middle of the sky. Since the sect master had set his eyes on Zhou Qianyu, if he was able to climb onto the Zhou family, his future days would naturally be much easier. Chun Lihu laughed coldly in his heart. Long Fei, don't blame me for being merciless. Blame yourself for being unlucky. Xianjian Peak. Law Enforcement Hall. Nyota highs, but was blooming. His flesh was a mess of flesh and blood, and the only thing that hurt was his grimacing teeth. Oh my, but it's so painful, it's killing me. She looked at Yuan Ling as if he was fine. From start to finish, there were no screams of pain. Nyota Hai could not help but ask, Junior Sister Apprentice, you don't hurt? Yuan Ling stood up without any other reply and quickly rushed down from the Xinjian Peak. She wanted to find Long Fei, but in her heart, she was also praying that Long Fei did not pass the Sword Tomb examination. A few hours ago, in her heart, she still hoped for Long Fei to pass the examination, but now, she hoped that Long Fei had not passed and that he would be able to leave safely. Nyota Hai saw that Yuan Ling's, but was also badly mangled, and his heart tensed up. If there's a girl who treats me like this, then let me live 10 more years. Junior Sister Apprentice, wait for me. Nyota Hai also limped as he chased after him, thinking, boss, please don't let anything happen to you. Table of contents 8_8419/2356594. Within the hunting grounds, there was a demon beast that was unique to the Sword Mountain. Sword Beast, a demon beast with a sword on its body. Its attacks were extremely sharp, and each attack carried a certain amount of sword intent. Kill. Long Fei's thin sword pierced through the sword beast's throat. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Sword Beast for obtaining 700 experience, 800 true chi, and 1 energy values. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Beast Sword. A crappy, insolent broadsword of inferior quality burst out. Yellow rank quality. Long Fei cut off the head of the sword beast and threw it into the space ring, then began to quickly kill it. Not a single strike was made using the true chi. Each move was activated by sword intent. It wasn't because Long Fei didn't want to use the true chi, because he only had a little more than 20,000 points of true chi left. He didn't have many dragon spirit pills on him. He had to save it well. He didn't even know what would happen next. 2 hours later, Long Fei killed the sword beast. It was also at this time. A weak female disciple walked out. He was wearing very little clothes, and it was one of those few that looked through thin gauze. Other than the 3 secret locations, he could basically see everything else clearly. The girl was not bad looking, especially her charming eyes, which could arouse a person's boundless desire. Big brother, can you bring me along? The woman's voice was very coquettish, so coquettish that it would cause one's entire body to become numb, and goosebumps would arise all over one's body. The woman looked at Long Fei lovingly, with a weak appearance. She even lowered the muslin covering her chest, revealing half of her fair breasts. There was an unfathomable deep ravine between them that could swallow a person's eyeballs. Coquettish. Extremely coquettish. Long Fei took a glance and immediately thought, calm down, I want to be calm. He had seen beautiful women before. However, it was the first time in his life that he had met such a coquettish woman in a transparent outfit. The woman looked at Long Fei's serious face and couldn't help but smile. She knew that Long Fei was pretending to be calm, but in truth, he was completely unable to calm down. She's an old hand. She had already succeeded after entering the hunting grounds. Hunting sword beast? It was too difficult. Moreover, she was good at killing men. At the same time, she also had a nickname, Poison Widow. Long Fei laughed innocently and said, You want to form a team? The Poison Widow pretended to be innocent and quickly nodded her head. Big brother, can you take me with you? I'm so scared by myself. As he spoke, she then fell into Long Fei's embrace. When the fragrance from her body wafted out and Long Fei inhaled, his brain became even more agitated and started to boil uncontrollably. The Poison Widow's slender hand stroked Long Fei's chest back and forth. It was soft and gentle, causing people to be unable to resist itching and feeling extremely comfortable at the same time. Immediately, without another word, Long Fei replied, No problem, leave it to me. The Poison Widow immediately jumped up in joy. With an innocent look, she said, Big brother, thank you. Big brother, you're so nice. I knew you would help me. He was completely excited that he had succeeded. Long Fei chuckled. It's not a problem for me to help you. It's not a problem for me to give you the hunted beasts, but Long Fei stared at the words that the Poison Widow was about to shout and revealed a perverted smile. The Poison Widow revealed a bashful expression as she twisted her body. Big brother, you're really bad. I'm not coming anymore. Not coming. Long Fei immediately turned around and said, It's fine if you don't come. I'm leaving. He turned around and was about to leave. The Poison Widow's expression changed slightly as she thought to herself, It looks like this man won't be useful to me if I don't give him some rewards. He was very strong when killing the sword beast. With him around, it's no problem for me to enter the top 1,000. Immediately, the Poison Widow said coquettishly, Big brother, don't go. It's not like I said I don't agree. Long Fei immediately stopped and turned around as he said with a laugh, Why didn't you say so earlier? I can hunt sword beasts with one hand. I'll kill as many as you want. However, Long Fei laughed sinisterly. The Poison Widow went all out and snuck into Long Fei's embrace, flirting with him, but what? Long Fei laughed. At least give me some sweets. The Poison Widow puffed out her chest and said, What do you want? Just say what you want and make your move. The Luan and Luan families will give it to you. With these words, what was Long Fei waiting for? Immediately, he grabbed it with one hand. What the heck? What a guy, what a good hand. So flexible, so great. Had a physiological reaction in an instant. He rubbed, grabbed, and squeezed with great force. He exerted quite a bit of force. The Poison Widow was in pain for being caught, but she still pretended to be enjoying herself. Her breathing became rough as she mumbled shyly. Long Fei laughed excitedly. I can't take it anymore. Chua! The Poison Widow's undergarment was torn apart. The thin layer of gauze covering his body was also torn to shreds. There was only one thing left on his body. Startled, the Poison Widow covered her chest with both hands and said, Big brother, how can you be like this? You. She was completely unprepared. He never expected that Long Fei would be so bold as to actually pull off her clothes. Furthermore, all of them were ripped to shreds, making her look like a wild beast in love. Looking at the clothes on the floor, he couldn't wear them anymore. Long Fei said, Don't be afraid. I have clothes. I will help you put them on later. While they were talking, Long Fei glanced at the two black dates on the Poison Widow's name, pretended to take one on one and on the other. Suddenly, Long Fei suddenly jumped and landed tens of meters away, laughing out loud. You want to play with this, Daddy? With your looks, you're still a little lacking. The Poison Widow looked at a loss. Big brother, what are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Long Fei laughed. Stop pretending. On the way here, I saw a few people who were killed. The wounds on their bodies seemed to be a gentle blow. They definitely died by a woman's hands. Furthermore, the space ring on their bodies have all disappeared. You must be the murderer. It was true that Long Fei liked beautiful women. It was also true that he was a virgin. It was also true that he could not resist the temptation. However, he was a very particular kind of person. He really didn't have any thoughts about the blackwood ears like the Poison Widow. Furthermore, that kind of pretentious, bashful, and coquettish expression made him feel disgusted just by listening to it. But he would be a bastard if he didn't take advantage of the situation. The feeling of that pair of giant peaks wasn't bad. The poison widow's face darkened, and her expression returned to normal. She said coldly, "Since you know about it, then don't think about living on. Carrot half /float asterisk life." While they were talking, the poison widow took out a thorny whip from the space ring. Long Fei trembled slightly and laughed. "Wow, you really have a heavy taste. You like smirks, hee hee." The eyes of the poison widow grew even more sinister as they radiated killing intent. "You're courting death." Chapter 8, Tears of Qingsheng. Thank you for becoming the second Alliance head. 8_8419/2356595. With the matter exposed, the poison widow had nothing else to hide. With the matter exposed, the poison widow had nothing else to hide. The killing intent was dense. One step forward. With a sweep of the thorny whip, it directly wrapped around Xiang Longfei's neck. Long Fei sneered. "I wanted to leave you some clothes, but since that's the case..." The long sword moved. A gentle stream of sword chi shot out. Shua! It was pitch black as it smashed the last item on the poison widow's body into pieces. At the same time, Long Fei had already retreated more than 10 meters as he laughed. "I don't have any clothes on." The poison widow gritted her teeth in anger. "You dog, I'm going to kill you. Kill me." "Ha ha." Long Fei laughed and then shouted out loud. "Come quickly. Someone come quickly. There's a woman here who is not wearing any clothes. Quickly come and look. Beautiful woman, naked. Come and look." Immediately, the forest was filled with discussions. Are there beauties that aren't wearing clothes? Let's go take a look. I have to go take a look. Is there such a good thing? Even if it's fake, we can't miss it. Bring me. A large group of people approached. Long Fei laughed playfully. "You want to fight me with this kind of trick? You're too young, but your pair of breasts are still pretty good, just that they're a bit dark, haha." Long Fei was not an idiot. To a woman, such dressing and such coquettish charm, it would be strange if she had no purpose. He liked beautiful women, but he was definitely not a person who would be unable to move his legs when he saw a woman. The poison widow was flustered and exasperated, gritting her teeth in anger as she angrily rebuked. "Just you wait. I'll definitely show you what I can do." With that, he ran into the depths of the forest. Long Fei laughed. "Don't run. Let's chat more. Didn't you want my life?" And then, Long Fei said loudly again, "Brother from the east, be careful. A naked woman is running over." Half a minute later. "Wow. As expected of a naked beauty. That Twin Peaks is too big, huh? Who's getting the benefits? Thank you so much. Today, I finally know what surging waves means. Beautiful girl, do you want to play?" Stole a chicken, but failed to eat the rice. The poison widow had fallen for it. However, since the exam wasn't over yet, she definitely wouldn't let it go. Long Fei did not pay any more attention to it. His goal was to hunt sword beast, and now that he had hunted more than 10 sword beast, this number was not enough to enter the top 1,000. Continue to kill. Long Fei went into the forest. In another place, a disciple walked over anxiously. "Brother Zhou, I can roughly determine that brat's position." Zhou Tianyun was startled and said, "All right, it's time to avenge my little brother." "Long Fei, you brat, just wait to die." Immediately. Zhou Tianyun immediately ordered, "Form a circle around him and surround him. I will kill him myself to avenge my brother." Over 200 outer sect official disciples shouted in unison, "Yes." They were the elite of the outer sect and were also part of the Zhou family. He didn't dare to say much about dealing with others, but if he wanted to deal with a disciple in the assessment, wouldn't he have to do whatever he wanted? Playing with them in the palm of his hand. Night fell. Yuan Ling and Niu Dahai exited the sword tomb. "It's over," Niu Dahai said with listless eyes. "This time it is really over." Zhou Tunyan brought 300 disciples into the hunting grounds. This time, "Boss Aya, it's all my fault. If I hadn't instigated my boss to join the Xinjian sect, he wouldn't have." 300 official disciples. Adding the war master Reams, Zhou Tianyun, Long Fei was not even a match for him. Yuan Ling muttered, "I want to enter the hunting grounds." Niu Dahai said, Enter? The Sword Tomb's exit is the only path that leads to the hunting grounds, and now that it's sealed off, it's impossible for us to enter. Yuan Ling muttered, I don't care, I must go in. It was as if he was causing trouble for no reason. Yuan Ling was really worried. She had never been worried about anyone before. It was the first time. This feeling was very special. Nyota Hai said, I also want to go in, but it's simply impossible. Right now, the only way is to find an inner court elder and have him stop Zhou Tianyun from making a move. This is boss's only chance of survival. Yuan Ling's eyes trembled, and he immediately said while looking at Nyota Hai, hurry up and go. Let's go find the elder. If an elder can fly on a sword, he will definitely be able to enter the hunting grounds to stop Zhou Tianyun. He will definitely be able to. While they were talking, Yuan Ling ran towards the Xianjian Peak. No matter what, she had to save Long Fei, because it was she who instigated Long Fei to take the examination, and she also required him to definitely pass it. Now she regretted it. Very regretful. Nyota Hai also anxiously chased after him, and thought, even if you have to pay any price, you have to stop Zhou Tianyun. In the outer sect, Chun Lihu had the most authority. It was like covering the sky with one hand. He had already been bribed by the Zhou family, so the only way to stop Zhou Tianyun from making a move was to find an inner sect elder to have him intervene. Thus, Nyota Hai and Yuan Ling headed straight to the inner sect mountain peak. At the inner door, he was stopped by 2 sect guards. This place is not accessible to the outer disciples. Leave. Nyota Hai tried to curry favor with him. Senior fellow apprentice, please let us in. I have something important to report to the elders. One of the disciples shouted, you are an outer sect disciple. If you have any problems, just report them to the outer sect elders. Our inner sect elders are not interested in any of your trivial matters. He had an arrogant expression on his face. He was an inner court disciple, and from the bottom of his heart, he looked down on outer court disciples that were trash. Nyota Hai was incomparably anxious. Yuan Ling also said with a begging tone, please give me some time, both senior fellow apprentice, to get rid of me. No way. Both of them shouted at the same time. Nyota Hai's violent temper rose. Fuck you. You're just giving me face, aren't you? I do not believe that you, a mere gatekeeper, will be so strong. As he spoke, he was about to charge forward. It was also at this time. An elder walked up and coldly snorted, what happened? The inner sect disciple immediately saluted and said, greetings, Elder Wu. These 2 outer sect disciples are about to enter the inner sect. Nyota Hai immediately said, we have something important to report. Something big will happen if we're late. Wu Hao asked slightly, what's the big deal? Yuan Ling said, in order to avenge our personal grudges, the Zhou family has used the 300 outer sect disciples to attack an assessment disciple. I hope that Elder Wu can stop us. Huh, is there such a thing? Wu Haowu's eyes darkened and asked, do you have any evidence? Evidence. Nyota Hai stared blankly for a moment and said, Zhou Tianyun personally told us. Moreover, even outer sect Elder Chun Lihu was bribed by the Zhou family. Ha! The 2 inner court disciples laughed and said, who would say it out loud after killing someone? Is my brain damaged? Chapter 9. Tears of Qingsheng. Thank you for becoming the 2nd Alliance Master of this book. 8_8419/2356596. The 2 of them laughed out loud. The 2 of them laughed out loud. Evidence. There was no evidence at all. Nyota Hai said anxiously, what I said was true. Elder, please stop it. That disciple who is taking the examination possesses a level of talent. He is extremely powerful. He can even kill a level 8 demon beast by himself. He is the most powerful person I have ever seen. Elder, I beg you. Wu Haowu said slightly. You have no proof. How can I believe it? In a situation where you don't have any proof, slandering an outer sect elder is a violation of the sect rules. Nyota Hai said, I really did not lie to you. I saw it with my own eyes. Elder, please help me. While they were talking, Nyota Hai could not care so much. With a put-on sound, he kneeled down heavily and said, I kowtowed to you. Please stop it. Wu Haowu's face turned cold and shouted, Nonsense! You don't have any evidence. Just say that the people of the Zhou family are avenging their personal grudges, and even asked me to stop the assessment. What should we do with the other disciples? Have you thought about it? No way. Absolutely not. Wu Haowu said heavily. Plop. Yuan Ling also knelt down and said, Elder Wu, I beg of you, please think of a way. Wu Haowu frowned slightly, stroked his beard, and with a look of embarrassment, he said, It's impossible to stop the assessment, but if I have to save someone, there shouldn't be a problem, but... Wu Haowu's small eyes turned slightly. Yuan Ling did not hesitate and directly handed over his sword and said, This is a profound ranked 9 spirit sword. I brought it out from the sword tomb. Please accept it. Wu Haowu accepted it, looked at the sword, and said, Sword are not bad, but this is not enough for me to take action. Obviously, he wanted something better. Niu Dahai clenched his teeth, took out the fire knife that Long Fei gave him, and said, This blade should be enough, right? In order to save Long Fei, he took out his most precious thing. Yuan Ling grabbed Niu Dahai's arm and shook his head. Niu Dahai replied, It's fine, no matter how good a weapon is, it's just a thing. If something happens to Boss, I will never forgive myself. Long Fei had saved him before. Moreover, he acted like Yuan Ba, the only one who treated him as a human being. No one in the Xinjian sect saw him as a human being. He was extremely grateful that Long Fei was following him to the Xinjian sect. Then again, he had been empty-handed before, and he was used to the days when he was unarmed. When Wu Haowu saw the fire knife, both of his eyes shone brightly, as if he saw a beauty who had come out all over. He was extremely excited. Heaven-ranked magic weapon. Even in Xinjian sect, there aren't that many. Niu Dahai asked, Elder Wu, can you really save my boss? Wu Haowu shouted, Do you want me to save him? I guess the rescue is coming soon, but if it's too late, maybe... Niu Dahai did not hesitate at all, and immediately handed it over, and said, Then you can go now. Wu Haowu controlled the excitement in his heart, and carefully looked at the fire knife. Good blade, this blade is at least a heaven-stage magic weapon, huh? It was also at this time. Chun-Li who walked out, ha. Zhou Yunhe also walked out, and started laughing loudly at the same time. He was tricked. They were in the same group. Niu Dahai immediately flew over, wanting to snatch the 2 weapons back. However, without waiting for him to pounce on her, he was kicked flying by Wu Haowu. He snorted coldly and said, Niu Dahai, you actually dare to sneak attack an elder. You are guilty of a crime and should be killed. Niu Dahai spat out a large mouthful of blood and scolded with incomparable fury. Scoundrel! F***CK your ancestor. Give me the fire knife. Yuan Ling's face was also filled with anger. He had been tricked. He was thoroughly tricked. She had never thought that an inner sect elder would actually be hooked up with Zhou Yunhe. From the very beginning, Zhou Yunhe and Chun-Li had been listening from the shadows. From the very beginning, they had been in the same group. The Zhou family's influence was not only limited to the outer sect, but the inner sect also had people. Wu Haowu said, Blade? What knife? Did you give me a knife? Why can't I remember? Did you see that? The 2 gatekeepers shook their heads. I only saw him sneak attack you. I didn't see him give you a knife. Wu Haowu had a complacent smile on his face and said, Did you hear that? I don't have any knife with you. You fat pig. You better respect me a little when you talk. Niu Dahai was enraged. He almost lost his mind and rushed forward. Give me back my blade. This was the blade Long Fei had given him. He wanted to rely on this blade to revitalize the artifact forging hall. However, it's been set up now. Niu Dahai rushed forward, but this time, it was Chun-Li who made a move. With a flick of his fingers, he chopped down with his palm and shouted, You slandered me. Who do you think you are? Bam! A palm struck Niu Dahai's chest. Niu Dahai's body continuously flipped in midair and heavily smashed onto the ground. Boom! Niu Dahai continuously spat out black blood. His face was extremely pale, his eyes were sinister as he stared at the 3 of them, and said, Give me back my blade. Give me back my blade. Yuan Ling's expression was also extremely cold. There was nothing to be done. The cultivation bases of the two elders were much higher than theirs. Yuan Ling grabbed Niu Dahai, who still wanted to rush up to him, and said, "Senior fellow apprentice Niu, if he struck again, he would die here." Chun Lihu was planning to kill him just now. If Niu Dahai were to rush up again, he would definitely die. Niu Dahai was unwilling to accept this. He was extremely unwilling to accept this outcome. However, they were too weak. Zhou Yunhe laughed coldly and said, "You two trash want to fight me? You don't even have a right. Do you understand? Don't worry. After that kid dies, it'll be your turn." Zhou Yunhe laughed. He had long since arranged everything. Adding Zhou Tianyu's influence, the entire Xinjian sect would help him. With just Long Fei, who was still in the assessment, how could he fight against him? Fighting with him was tantamount to fighting with the entire Xinjian sect. You have to know that Zhou Tianyu is a sect master's secret disciple. Yuan Ling said in a heavy voice, "If Long Fei killed all of them." It was a cold sentence. The three of them looked at each other and laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha! With just him," Zhou Yunhe laughed. "Just because he is a trash with a pubes that has been shattered, his tendons and veins congealed, and his dragon blood activation is 0, just based on these? Ha ha! Are you talking in your sleep? This kind of trash wants to harm 300 official disciples. You guys really think too much." Just tonight, he had gathered information on Long Fei. Zhou Yunhe never fought battles with no confidence. He would even investigate after killing an ant and treat Long Fei the same way. Yuan Ling asked again if Long Fei killed all of them. This time, Chun Lihu laughed coldly. "Then he's really amazing. Such a talent would naturally become a disciple of the Xinjian sect, but he seems to be a trash, haha." Yuan Ling's voice became even colder, and he asked again. This time, he looked at Wu Haowu and said, "What if he kills everyone?" Wu Haowu said impatiently, "We will not pursue any responsibility. #half/float * life. Yuan Ling's gaze turned sinister as he said coldly, "Then just wait to collect their corpses." At this moment, Long Fei was surrounded by 300 outer sect disciples. "Thank you, brothers, for your tips and support on the subscription. Haiyang is extremely grateful. 8_8419/2356597. Long Fei was surrounded. Long Fei was surrounded. The 300 outer court disciples surrounded him so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Long Fei trembled slightly and said, "So it turns out that the 300 outer sect disciples were there to deal with me." He thought that the Zhou family would attack him, but he did not expect them to send so many people against him. A total of 300 outer court disciples. The power of the Zhou family in the Xinjian sect was not small at all. They had sent so many people to deal with him. However, Long Fei was not the least bit afraid. On the contrary, he was a little excited. Why? Because 300 elite disciples, that was a huge amount of experience. A large wave of true chi value. He was worried about not being able to find any demonic beast to kill and replenish his true chi value. From the looks of it, he did not need to worry too much about it. Zhou Tianyun gave a cold laugh. "Kid, you killed my brother and stole my brother's lightning dragon secret treasure, yet you still dare to come to the Xinjian sect. I can't help but admire you. Where did your courage come from? Hand over the secret treasure of the Thunder Dragon. I will leave an intact corpse for you today." Secret treasure of the Thunder Dragon. This was the true purpose of the Zhou family. Why did Zhou Yunhe spend so much on an examination disciple? It was for the Thunder Dragon Temple's secret treasure. If Niu Dahai and the other two could get out safely with the collapse of the Thunder Dragon Temple, it would be sufficient to say that Long Fei had obtained the secret treasure of the Thunder Dragon Temple. As long as he obtained the secret treasure of the Thunder Dragon, his Zhou family's power would definitely rise to another level. This was the reason why Zhou Yunhe had to spend so much. Long Fei was startled for a moment and said, "Thunder Dragon Temple's treasure trove?" Zhou Tianyun's eyes turned sinister as he said, "What? You can't say you didn't get it, right? It is very clear that the treasure deposit has been taken by you. The treasure deposit that should have belonged to my Zhou family was taken by you now, and anyone who dares to steal from my Zhou family, no one can live. Give it to me honestly. I will give you a quick death. They were sure that the secret treasure was on Long Fei. Long Fei swept a glance across everyone and said, "The treasure is indeed on me. What do you want?" "Holy artifact." While they were talking, Long Fei then took out the Thunder Dragon Rod, and with a sudden drop, he landed on the ground and laughed. "Holy artifact, Thunder Dragon Rod. Do you want it? Come and get it." 8 Thunder Dragons facing the sky, their entire bodies exuding the aura of holy artifact. The eyes of the 300 disciples all became cold as a light of greed flashed in their eyes. A holy artifact. This is the first time I've seen a holy artifact. The 8 Dragons Dawn Pearl is filled with the power of thunder. What a powerful force. It's really a holy artifact. Just as they were discussing, Fei's voice traveled into Long Fei's mind, and she said, "Big brother Long Fei, I don't like them." Long Fei said with a sound transmission, "You don't like them? That's easy to do. Just wait for you to get angry to your heart's content." Fei smiled mischievously and nodded. "Yes, I'll turn them all into charcoal later." Charcoal? Ha ha, good idea. Long Fei was a little looking forward to it. Holy artifact and normal spirit treasures were different. Just the aura itself was different. The holy artifact's aura was extremely rich, and the stronger the holy artifact, the thicker its aura. Zhou Tianyun was shocked. He did not expect Long Fei to be so conscious, as he directly took out the holy artifact and said complacently, "Brat, consider yourself sensible. Hand over the holy artifact, and I will leave an intact corpse for you." Long Fei laughed and said, "Come and take it. Come and get it if you dare." Long Fei looked at Zhou Tianyun with a smile and thought, 300 outer sect disciples should be able to replenish their true chi-s, right? Zhou Tianyun's gaze turned sinister as he scoffed. "Are you still planning on playing any tricks?" Long Fei said with disdain, "It's just a little trick on your head. My holy artifact is already here. If you have the guts, come up and take it." "Take? Such a good thing?" Not to mention Zhou Tianyun. Even the surrounding ordinary disciples all revealed looks of doubt. This was a holy artifact. You took it out just like that? Not resisting at all? Not even ghosts believed it. Without waiting for Zhou Tianyun to speak, Long Fei sneered and said, "You don't dare to take it? If you don't dare to come up and take it, then you don't have to say anything. Scram to the side." Long Fei cursed in disdain. "You don't even have the guts to come up and ask for holy artifact with your current appearance? You're worse than your brother, you piece of trash." Arrogant to the extreme. It was as if the 300 disciples were surrounded by him instead of the 300 disciples. Zhou Tianyun's face was ugly, his fists clenched tightly. He said to a disciple beside him, "Go and get it for me." Without waiting for that disciple to come forward, Long Fei said with disdain, "You really are trash, and even one of the 3 great geniuses of the outer sect. In my opinion, it's just a pile of dog poop." "Kid, don't be too arrogant," Zhou Tianyun shouted. Long Fei grinned. "I'm being arrogant. What can you do to me?" "Huh?" Zhou Tianyun bellowed. "Let's see how long you can be so arrogant for. Everyone listen. Let's attack together. After obtaining the holy artifact, I, Zhou Tianyun, will definitely not treat you all unfairly. My Zhou family will definitely not treat you all unfairly." He didn't dare to go up. They really did not dare to go up because that was a holy artifact. He didn't have absolute confidence. When everyone heard this, they all stepped forward. No matter what, touching a holy artifact would blow their air for the rest of their lives, at least once. 300 people swiftly walked over. The circle was getting smaller. After sensing for a bit, 300 disciples gradually entered the attacking range of the Thunder Dragon Rod, pretended to be afraid, and said, "Zhou Tianyun, you're a coward. You didn't dare come yourself, and actually allowed so many people to come." Zhou Tianyun looked at Long Fei's expression of feigned fear and laughed. "Ha! Arrogant. Why are you still acting arrogant? Why are you so scared now? Fight with me. Trash. Why don't you take a piss and take good care of yourself? What qualifications do you have to fight with me? This is my Zhou family's territory. Do you understand? He began to feel smug. Because Long Fei was afraid, he determined that the Thunder Dragon Rod must be strange, but no matter how strange it was impossible for it to kill so many people. Ha ha, brat, you don't have any cards left to play this time, do you? The holy artifact belongs to my Zhou family. Zhou Tianyin laughed proudly. The encirclement was getting smaller. In the end, there was only a circle less than 2 meters wide. Everyone stared at Long Fei coldly, looking at him with expressions of disdain. Trash! Hand the holy artifact over. Hand it over. You think you're worthy of having a holy artifact like that? Not qualified at all. It was also at this time that Long Fei asked, Feier, are you ready? Sister-in-law 1-/+ health. Strongest upgrade system, Feier said. Fei is always ready. That's good. And then, Long Fei's forehead turned sinister as his true chi surged. He grabbed onto the Thunder Dragon Rod with one hand and roared towards the sky. Fury of the Thunder, roll. The first chapter, the recommended friend book, is the same as the system's Level Devour system. Those who like it can take a look. 8_8419/2356598. True Chi was activated. True Chi was activated. Linked to Thunder Dragon Rod. In that instant, it was as if the 8 Thunder Dragons had been resurrected. They let out a dragon's roar and rushed into the sky. A huge thundercloud appeared out of nowhere in the sky, forming a lightning field. Angry, Long Fei was startled and burst with power. Chua! The Thunder Dragon rushed into the thundercloud, rolling about. Crack! Bam! A thick as a bucket of lightning struck down, and a disciple directly evaporated from the world. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Outer Sect Disciple for obtaining 700 experience, 800 true chi, and 100 energy values. And then, kacha, 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 lightning crackled down in a frenzy. Moreover, the second bolt of lightning suddenly changed, and Feier's spiritual energy surged into the lightning. Ding! Touched the Thunder Dragon Rod's hidden skill, Fury of the Elves. It was as if Feier was holding onto a magic staff and had 2 long ponytails, looking just like a beautiful young lady from a warrior. Holding onto a magic staff, she mischievously said, I represent the Thunder God in annihilating you. I'm going to turn you all into charcoal. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Asterisk, the 8 dragons were enraged. Thunder rumbled, and the incomparably thick lightning became even more powerful. Anyone that struck would be killed instantly. Moreover, this time, there was no sign of the human world evaporating. Instead, it had become charcoal. It was like a piece of human charcoal. Ding, ding, ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Outer Sect Disciple for obtaining 700 experience, 800 true chi, and 100 energy values. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Outer Sect Disciple for obtaining 700 experience, 800 true chi, and 100 energy values. Congratulations. The system beep was like firecrackers, crackling nonstop. This feeling was simply too great. His experience points was increasing rapidly, while the value of his true chi was increasing rapidly. The 300 disciples in the lightning field had all turned into black charcoal. Help! Boom! Spare me. I'm just here to try my luck. Give me a way out. The end of the world. Save us. A wave of ghastly wails and wolf howls resounded through the air as they desperately rushed towards the outside. However, compared to the speed of the lightning, their speed was so unbearably fast that it seemed weak. Feier waved the magic wand within the pearl. All of you will turn into charcoal. Feier hates you. Humph, humph. Long Fei laughed and said, I also hate them. He must kill anyone who deserved to be killed. In less than a minute, the 8 dragons returned to their positions. The Thunder Dragon Rod's aura calmed down, and more than 200 black charcoal statues appeared around Long Fei. None of them escaped. Only Zhou Tianyun remained outside the minefield. He was a fool. He was completely stupefied. This minute felt like a century to him. His head was numb, his pupils were dilating, and he opened his mouth wide as he looked at Long Fei in the middle. He shook his head and rubbed his eyes. Illusion, illusion, this is all an illusion. It's impossible, it's impossible. No matter how powerful a holy artifact is, it's impossible for it to kill so many people at once. It's impossible. He had already collapsed. 1 minute. 8 dragons rage. Thunderclap. 300 disciples killed in an instant. This unimaginable terror. Long Fei withdrew his thunder dragon rod. His figure flashed and landed in front of Zhou Tianyun as he coldly asked, Zhou Tianyun, is that cool? Do I have the right to fight with you now? Are you qualified to play with your Zhou family now? Do you have the right to be arrogant now? Every word he said was filled with arrogance, dominance, and arrogance. Zhou Tianyun staggered back a step, suddenly took out his sword and roared, Long Fei, I will kill you, I will kill you, A sword came slashing down. The power of the war Master Ream exploded. Humph! The war Master Ream is amazing, right? Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. He grabbed the air and summoned the dragon Salyer out. Immediately, he raised the saber with both hands and chopped down heavily. Clang! Zhou Tianyun's long sword was broken. His arms were numb from the impact, and he continuously retreated. Luo Tian carried the dragon Salyer on his shoulder and smiled. Do you want to know how your brother died? Zhou Tianyun's mind was in a mess. He had not even used 1/10 of the power he normally possessed. Seeing Long Fei's ice-cold expression, he became even more afraid. Zhou Tianyun retreated a few steps and said, Don't kill me. You can't kill me. I'm Zhou Tianyun. If you kill me, the Zhou family will not let you go. You can't even think about joining the Xinjian sect. And my big brother, Zhou Tianyun, will not let you go. You can't kill me. He kept retreating, carrying the dragon Salyer. Long Fei continued to get closer, revealing a death god-like smile. Wow, your Zhou family is really strong. Yes, seems like I'll be able to gain another wave of experience and true qi. Long Fei moved and rested his head on the ground. Sparks flew in all directions as soon as the stone was touched. Long Fei laughed and said, My large blade is unable to endure the thirst. Suddenly, Long Fei took a step forward, causing the dragon Salyer to suddenly raise and land on top of Zhou Tianyun's head. Zhou Tianyun was so scared that he peed his pants and shouted loudly, Long Fei, you can't kill me. Yuan Ba is still in the hands of our Zhou family. Yuan Ling, Niodahai is also in the hands of our Zhou family. If you dare to touch me, they will all die. You can't kill me. Long Fei paused for a moment. Zhou Tianyun saw that Long Fei had stopped and immediately said, If you kill me, all of them will die. If you let me go, I'll let them go. As long as he was alive, anything was fine. Seeing that Long Fei did not react, Zhou Tianyun's expression recovered its arrogance and said, Long Fei, you better be tactful. Their lives are in my hands. If you dare touch a single hair on my head, the Zhou family will immediately kill them. Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's arms exploded, the power of the mountain hit fist, and the godly force of his right arm burst out as he slashed his blade downwards. Shua! Zhou Tianyun's body split into two and immediately exploded outwards. The two halves of his body were separated by 100 meters. It was incomparably cruel. Long Fei's gaze darkened as he said coldly, It's fine if you don't want to say it, but if you do, your father is burning with anger. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly, looked at the Xinjian peak in the clouds, and muttered, If anyone dares to touch my brother, I will screw over all 18 generations of his ancestors. Zhou family, if you have the guts, then try it. He was furious. It didn't matter if they touched him, but they couldn't do it to his brother, especially the Lubi, Yuan Ba. He was too retarded, and he was just adamant that when he returned to the Zhou mansion, he would definitely. Furthermore, what he was most worried about was that Yuan Ba would foolishly agree to some of his ruthless conditions. Long Fei clenched both his fists tightly and said with regret in his heart, "We shouldn't have let him leave yesterday. I'm afraid this time. Zhou clan, you better not touch him. If you do, I'll definitely wipe out your entire clan." The second chapter recommends the friend book Most Respected Life to like and support. 8_8419/2356599. The person he was most worried about was Yuan Ba. The person he was most worried about was Yuan Ba. As for Niu Dahai, Yuan Ling, and the others, they were still better off. After all, they were still in the Xinjian sect, and they were also official disciples. However, there was one thing that Long Fei was sure of. That was Yuan Ba was not dead yet. The mission was still there, and he did not fail it. Yuan Ba was definitely still alive. If Yuan Ba died, then the mission would be deemed a failure. Long Fei thought, "Luby, wait for me. If they dare to touch you, I will not let this matter rest." Long Fei said fiercely in his heart. Early morning, the Sword Tomb's exit door opened, and the assessment ended. The disciples in the hunting grounds started to leave the area, walking towards the Xinjian peak. Some disciples were filled with confidence, while some disciples were feeling dejected. After all, it was a sword beast, and not just anyone could kill it. The only mode was to form a team. Long Fei lined up and stood in the middle of the crowd. Suddenly, a familiar fragrance wafted into his nose. Poison Widow? Long Fei grinned as he turned to look. It really was a Poison Widow. It was just that the difference from yesterday was that there were 5 or 6 disciples standing beside the Poison Widow, and all of them were staring at Long Fei. Poison Widow glared at Long Fei with a face full of killing intent. "This is the kid." Before he could finish, a group of people surrounded him. One of the two patted Long Fei's shoulder. With a look of contempt, he said, "Brat, I heard that you're very arrogant." Long Fei smiled lightly. "It's not considered too arrogant. It's just normal arrogance." "Oh, you still dare to be arrogant in front of me? Do you know who I am?" The big-sized man opened his eyes wide, staring at Long Fei like an ox. Long Fei shook his head and said, "I really don't know about that. May I ask your name, hero?" The sturdy man retracted his gaze, raised his hand, and slapped Long Fei hard. "I call you father." "Sigh. Good boy, good son." Long Fei dodged slightly, easily dodging the slap, and laughed. "My son has already grown up. I really don't know." The sturdy man was enraged. "Brat, you are courting death." Long Fei laughed. "Does my son want to kill father?" The sturdy man roared, "Ah!" This time, he stretched his arms and hugged a bear. As long as he was hugged, his spine would be broken. His strength was quite strong. However, not waiting for him to rush up, Long Fei slightly lifted his right leg. Pa! Crack! A crisp sound of an egg breaking came from the burly man's crotch. It was both of them. Both of his legs pinched together, and his body slowly withered down. His face was flushed red, and his eyes were bloodshot as he looked at Long Fei. You. After a long while, you still couldn't say a single word. The Poison Widow's eyes turned malevolent. "Trash, useless trash. Everyone forward." The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly and said, "He's my son. I won't kill him. If you guys dare to come up, then be careful." A cold snort. The other 5 immediately stopped and did not dare to move forward. Then he slowly stepped back. Women were important, but life was more important. The Poison Widow stared at Long Fei, gritting its teeth in hatred. "I won't let you off. Just you wait." Long Fei said, "Be careful. You're all naked again." "You." The Poison Widow was furious at the thought of what had happened yesterday. However, she knew that she wasn't a match for him, but she definitely wasn't someone who would give up so easily. There was still a chance. As long as he could enter the Xinjian sect, he would still have a chance. She had sufficient points to enter the Xinjian sect at that time. The Poison Widow thought to herself, "Brat, in the future, I have plenty of time to play with you. Just wait patiently for me." Half an hour later, Long Fei returned to the outer sect training grounds of the Xinjian peak. The entire martial arts practice field was also surrounded by people. Among these people were those who failed yesterday and many outer court disciples. Long Fei looked left and right and did not find Yuan Ling and Yoda Hai. His heart sank. Could it be that what Zhou Tianyan said is true? They really fell into the hands of the Zhou family? Zhang Xin panicked. However, there was someone who was even more anxious than him. Chen Lihu. He stood on the stage and looked left and right, but he could not see Zhou Tianyan returning. None of the 300 disciples that were there to maintain order had returned. Why is that? According to the time, they should have returned long ago. These were 300 disciples, an elite. Even if he was the great elder of the outer sect, he couldn't afford to take on this crime. Chen Lihu's heart sank even deeper. At this moment, a disciple whispered into Chen Lihu's ear. Chen Lihu's pupils suddenly shrank, and his gaze turned to follow that disciple's gaze, immediately noticing Long Fei. Is he still alive? Chen Lihu's eyes turned sinister. Did Zhou Tianyan and the rest not make a move? At this time, Zhou Yuanhe also could not sit still. He had been waiting for Zhou Tianyan to return from the backstage. Compared to Chen Lihu, he was even more anxious because only he knew about the Thunder Dragon Temple's secret treasure. If that was the case. But now, Zhou Tianyan had not returned for so long. Why was this so? Wu Haowu said indifferently. Clan leader Zhou, don't worry, I will be back. Whoosh! An elder who was flying on a sword descended and said to Chen Liu, We didn't see them. We didn't see their figures in the entire hunting grounds. What? Chen Lihu's voice was like thunder. His face immediately became livid. You didn't see it? Could it be that the human world has been steamed? The audience went silent. I don't know what happened. However, they were all waiting for the results of the test and didn't care about anything else. Time's up, right? Can you check the results and determine the ranking? Yeah, everyone's here. Can we begin? What the hell are you doing? Everyone wanted to know their ranking as soon as possible, just like how they wanted to know their score after an examination. Chen Lihu did not pay any attention to him and walked towards the backstage in large strides. Looking at Zhou Yuanhe and Wu Haowu, he said, Zhou Yuntian brought 300 disciples and disappeared without a trace. What? What's going on? The two of them stood up at the same time. Zhou Yuanhe's expression changed. He took a step forward and looked at Chen Lihu, then said, Elder Chen, this is not a joke. Tianyan is a cultivator with a War Master Ream. He would definitely not disappear. Baidu's sister-in-law, AA Half. Floating Life, strongest upgrade system. Chen Lihu's brows tightly knitted together as he faintly said, The brat you wanted to kill, he returned safe and sound. Zhou Yuanhe's expression turned sinister as he suddenly recalled what Yuan Ling said last night. What if Long Fei kills them all? These words suddenly came to mind. A chill came over him. Chapter 3, Recommended Friends Book, The CEO's Personal Security, written by Fan Shintian, 8_8419/2356600. The Zhou family did not return. The Zhou family did not return. Long Fei is back. Zhou Yuanhe had to stop thinking about this. Wu Haowu glanced at Zhou Yuanhe and said, Clan leader Zhou, there is no need to be too worried. Even if that brat came back, it would not mean that Zhou Tianyan is dead. I see. Elder Chen, you check the results of the exam. I will go to the hunting grounds and wait for me to come back. Chen Lihu immediately said, All right, I will leave everything to Clan Elder Wu. Wu Haowu's sword moved, riding on the sword and flew, quickly disappearing. Zhou Yuanhe fell to the ground and muttered, Definitely not possible. Chen Lihu once again returned to the stage and said slightly, Next, we will begin the assessment of our results. Those disciples walked forward one after another to take out the sword beast they had hunted and then began to count their names. Long Fei stood in the middle of the crowd and continuously looked left and right, but he still did not see Yuan Ling and Yoda Hai. Could something have really happened? In another place, at the foot of the Xianjian Peak. I'm late. Sigh, it's all my fault, Yoda Hai said while blaming himself. At this moment, His face was still very pale, and his body was incomparably weak. His kick and Chun Lihu's palm strike had almost taken his life. He had to live to thank the large amount of fat on his body. If it wasn't for the fat blocking some of the force, he really would have burped. Nyoda Hai said, "Junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling, don't worry about me. Go and look for him in the Xinjian Peak first. See if boss has returned. If pa. The boss must have returned alive." Nyoda Hai did not continue. Yuan Ling asked, "Can you do it by yourself?" Nyoda Hai supported himself with a walking stick and said, "No problem." Yuan Ling did not stay any longer and immediately ran in the direction of the Xinjian Peak. Whether or not Long Fei passed the examination, she would make Long Fei leave or not. If Long Fei was in Xinjian Peak, then he would be in even more danger. Zhou Yuanhao would not let him go. Chun Lihu would not. The three of them were already lawless outside of the sect. Long Fei was only one person. Yuan Ling used all of his strength to run up. Halfway up the mountain, the two of them blocked her path. It was the Zhou family. Furthermore, the two of them were even inner disciples, so their cultivation were above Yuan Ling. "Junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling, come with us," a disciple said. Yuan Ling's face turned cold as he looked at the two of them. Suddenly, he moved his body and fiercely charged forward. However, without even waiting for her to rush over, she was struck back with a palm, heavily smashing into the cliff wall, causing Yuan Ling to vomit out a mouthful of blood. "You're asking for trouble. With your cultivation, you still dare to act rashly in front of us? You're looking to die." Finished. A disciple walked forward, grabbed Yuan Ling's head and fiercely smashed it, causing Yuan Ling to be knocked back into the stone wall once more. Yuan Ling's eyes started to blur before finally fainting. "I'll go find that fat cow. Bring her back to the Zhou family. The clan leader has ordered that no one is to touch her without him." Understood. The two of them walked in separate directions. Lu Russian, 13 Sword Beast, points 13 points. Zhou Yao, 20 Sword Beast, 20 points. Wang Tianxiao, 9 Heads of Sword Beast, 9 points. Martial Arts Arena continued. Long Fei did not wait for Yuan Ling and Nyoda Hai to appear, and the anxiety in his heart immediately turned into rage. Zhou family. Next. Is the next person deaf? Long Fei's expression changed. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he stared at the disciple who just spoke. The man and Long Fei looked at each other for half a second and immediately did not dare look at him and said softly, "The next one is going to anger you." Long Fei walked forward and quickly brought out the sword beast he had hunted. One after another, in less than half a minute, a large number of them slowly gathered, like a small mountain. The statisticians were extremely shocked. Everyone in the plaza was also incomparably shocked. Who is this kid? How did he hunt so many sword beasts? Damn, is he even human? Immediately, a flurry of discussions broke out. Chun Lihu slightly narrowed his eyes as he looked at Long Fei with a heavy gaze, and thought to himself, "Kid, do you really have the strength to kill 300 disciples?" The results were announced very quickly. 330 Sword Beast, 33 points, broke the record set by Zhou Tianyu last year. Congratulations, junior brother. Now you can say that you have a 100% chance of entering the Xinjian sect, huh? Long Fei smiled lightly and asked softly, "Senior fellow apprentice, can I ask you something?" The disciple very politely replied, "Go ahead." Since Long Fei was able to break the record, no matter what his results were, he would be rewarded and get the attention of the elders. As long as he had a good relationship with Long Fei, there would definitely be benefits. Long Fei asked, "Why didn't I see senior sister Yuan Ling and senior fellow apprentice Nyoda Hai?" The disciple went closer to Long Fei and whispered, "The two of them were punished yesterday. Each of them got 100 spirit rods and were beaten until their skin and flesh split. I think they are still lying at home. No one knew anything about the events of the night." "Beat? Why are you being punished?" Long Fei asked again. The disciple glanced at Chun Lihu in the distance and said with an even lower voice, "He offered to bribe Elder Chun to stop the exam. it seems. They want a person to give up the examination. I'm not too sure about the specifics. Long Fei remained calm and said, "Thank you, senior fellow apprentice." Then, Long Fei walked to the side and thought, 100 sticks. Niu Dahai is still fine, but Yuan Ling, how can a woman's small body hold up against him? At the same time, Long Fei looked at Chen Lihu, who was on the stage from the corner of his eyes. Chen Lihu was also looking at him. Long Fei saw a strong, killing intent in his eyes, and his own eyes also carried a cold, killing intent as he muttered, "This matter isn't over yet." Suddenly, a shadow fell from the sky. Wu Haowu returned. He landed on the stage and spoke to Chen Lihu in a low voice. "All dead." Boom! Chen Lihu was unable to stand properly. His body staggered, and he almost fell to the ground. "There are 300 people here. How is that possible?" Wu Haowu continued. "They were all struck by an incomparably strong bolt of lightning. And then he turned into black charcoal and will break into pieces if he touches it." In the hunting grounds, he had seen more than 200 black carbon sculptures. He couldn't believe his own eyes. However, from their appearances, they seemed to be the outer sect disciples of the Xianjian sect. Chen Lihu muttered, "What do we do? What should we do?" The death of 300 outer sect elites was a crime he could not afford. Wu Haowu was also involved in this matter, and even he himself knew that he was involved. He stared at Long Fei with an ice-cold gaze and said slightly, "Didn't you get a witness yesterday?" The 4th chapter recommends a friend's book, the supreme and strong young master of the campus. Like to support. 8_8419/2356601. Chen Lihu raised his eyes and said, "He is only a war chief realm cultivator. Even if he said that he was killed by him, there must be someone who believed him. Those are at least 300 people." Chen Lihu raised his eyes and said, "He is only a war chief realm cultivator. Even if he said that he was killed by him, there must be someone who believed him. Those are at least 300 people. Moreover, there's a Zhou Tianyun with a war master ream." Wu Haowu thought for a moment, then said, "The sect master detected a trace of devil energy 2 nights ago, so we can say that he is a disciple of the devil sect." Chen Lihu's eyes turned sinister. The corners of his mouth lifted, and he laughed sinisterly. Devil sect disciple. This was the most reasonable explanation. Only the disciples of the devil sect could help him get rid of his guilt. Evil. It was extremely dangerous. Although Zhou Yuantong did not hear the entire conversation, hearing the news of the deaths of 300 disciples, he almost fainted. Of the 3 proud grandsons, 2 had died. Zhou Yuanhe was going crazy in his heart. And then he instructed a Zhou family disciple. He quietly went down the mountain. Long Fei would not let him have it easy, and he would definitely not let Long Fei have it easy either. At this time, he believed that Yuan Ling, Niu Dahai, had been captured by him and wanted to kill them. In another place, in a grave, Niu Dahai climbed back up with much difficulty, looked at the vanished Zhou family disciples, and said disdainfully, "Little brat, you still want to catch me? Dream on." Niu Dahai was very pleased with himself. Other than him, no one else in Xianjian sect was his match. Suddenly, "This is bad." Niu Dahai's expression became anxious. Something must have happened to junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling, if that's the case. The boss must still be alive. Holy **T. Zhou Tianyun's 300 outer sect disciples can't be real. Looking at the incredibly steep Xianjian peak, he gritted his teeth and said, "If that's the case, then boss is too dangerous. The Zhou family, Chen Lihu, Wu Hao will never let him go. Lord Fatty is risking his life. Boss, please don't let anything happen to him. Please don't let anything happen to him. Yuan Ling and Yuan Ba are still waiting for you to save them." The fatty supported his 250 kilograms of body as he madly rushed forward. It was a charge. Half an hour later, the results of the 10,000 disciples had been tallied. The top 1,000 had been tallied. No doubt about it. Long Fei took first place. He now had the qualifications to become a disciple of the Xianjian sect and had passed the examination. However, he was curious about one thing. He didn't think of the system beep. The assessment mission should have ended, but the mission was not completed. Why was that? Long Fei was very confused. I should be able to complete the mission. I got first place and obtained the Sword Saint's legacy, so logically speaking, I should be able to get a grade of S grade for this mission. I should be able to get a special reward from Yuan Ling, but don't tell me that we have to see Yuan Ling to activate the mission. At this time, the martial arts arena was in an uproar. I am now a disciple of Xianjian sect. I passed the examination. I'm going to be glorious. Countless people laughed, cried, and hugged each other in celebration, just like in his previous life when he was studying in some famous university. But Long Fei didn't feel anything. There was no joy at all because Yuan Ling was not here. He did not see the smile on Yuan Ling's face. In the inner sect, Elder Ruoshui said faintly, "The outer sect examination results are out. Let's go take a look as well." "What's there to look at? Didn't you see it yesterday?" "We are all a group of disciples who do not have much talent, so I think it would be best for us not to waste any time." "Exactly. Let's think about how we'll be able to unleash this sword technique with even greater power." Ruoshui was the female elder who was in the air above the sword tomb yesterday. Last night, she had been thinking about Long Fei and felt that Long Fei seemed to have comprehended something at that moment. Shui said with a gentle smile, "3 senior fellow apprentices, please accompany me on my trip. Let's go. I promise you all, when I come back, I will study this sword technique seriously." The 3 elders sighed. "I really admire you." The 4 of them rode on their swords, and in the blink of an eye, they had arrived in the air above the outer court martial arts practice field. Martial arts arena was boiling. She quickly found Long Fei's figure and muttered to herself, "He really passed the examination." Chun Lihu said with a smile, "Congratulations to these 1,000 disciples. Their hard work in cultivating these past few years has not been in vain. And at the same time, don't be disheartened by those who have failed the selection. After a year, you guys will become stronger and then come for the examination." Now, Chun Lihu slightly said, "Please bring up the disciples who are ranked in the top 10 to receive their prizes. 10th place, Lu Rufeng. 9th place, Zhou Yu." He called them up one by one. Behind the smile was a sinister look. He said loudly, "First place creates Xianjian sect's history, 330 sword beast, 330 points. We welcome him with the warmest of applause, Long Fei." Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, Long Fei walked towards the stage. Ruoshui was shocked. "It's him. 330 points, this. Isn't this result a bit too terrifying? My God, back then, I only got 180 points. This kid, how did he do it?" The 3 inner court elders were all shocked. 330 points was a very terrifying existence. It was simply not something a human could do. Suddenly, outside the martial arts practice field, a hand that had been chubby the entire time climbed the stairs with one hand. The cane in his hand suddenly moved. His entire body was drenched in sweat, and his clothes were drenched in sweat. He stood up with much difficulty and became angry at the pubes. This was his last sliver of true chi. Boom, boom, boom. Long Fei stopped and turned back quickly. At this moment, the 2 outer sect disciples immediately dragged Niodahai out. "You're courting death." Long Fei was just one step away from the stage. As long as he could step up, he would be an official disciple of the Xianjian sect. However, he chose his brother. Moonlit step, Shua. With one step, Long Fei landed heavily on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he was already at the entrance of the training grounds. Boom, boom. Both fists shot out right and left, sending the 2 Zhou family disciples flying. Fatty Nyo looked at Long Fei. He was so excited that tears were flowing out of his eyes as he cried, "I almost couldn't see you again." Boss Wu, snot and tears. Long Fei helped Niodahai up. Looking at the injuries on his body, the anger in his heart surged like gasoline. 8_8419/2356 602. Such a handsome middle finger. Such a handsome middle finger. Everyone was shocked, and the entire arena quieted down. None of them knew what the middle finger meant. Chun Lihu also did not know, but he felt that Long Fei was ignoring him, frowned, and shouted angrily, "Brat, you dare to ignore an elder? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you would really think that my Xinjian sect is a vegetarian." He couldn't let Long Fei leave. Before long, the news of the deaths of 300 disciples would spread. He had to pull someone down with him, and Long Fei was the best choice. Chun Lihu roared and rushed out like a fierce tiger. It locked on his Xiang Long Fei's throat with its 2 fingers. Niu Dahai shouted loudly, "Boss, be careful." Long Fei's right hand moved. As long as Chun Lihu hurried over, he would take out the dragon salyer and hack him to death. It was also at this moment. Buzz! An ear-piercing sword hum resounded. Shwa! A sword that was like water plummeted down, blocking right in front of Chun Lihu, knocking him back several steps. Ro Shui floated down like an immortal, her sword floating beside her. She said lightly, "Elder Chun, it's not good for you to kill me without asking questions, right?" Chun Lihu's face changed. The person standing in front of him was an inner sect elder, and his attainment in the way of the sword was very high as well. The sect head held him in high regard. At this time, Wu Haowu flew up and said with a respectful smile, "Junior sister apprentice Lu Shui, this disciple is disrespectful to the elders even before entering Xinjian sect. Elder Chen only wants to teach him a lesson. After all, there are so many disciples here to select him." Chun Lihu immediately followed. That's right. I was also doing it for the dignity of the Xinjian sect." General Waters said, "Even if it's just a lesson, there's no need to go all out, right?" Chun Lihu said, "I was too angry just now and did not control my strength well. This is my fault. I am willing to be punished. But he cannot leave the Xinjian peak." "You're right." Wu Haowu then continued. "He killed 330 sword beasts and took first place. This is a record-breaking. For any normal warrior, this is a result that would cause them to be extremely happy, but he did not look the least bit happy. Furthermore, he said that he would leave. What is this Xinjian sect for? What did he take the examination for? Is this a joke? Or should I say, he doesn't place the Xinjian sect in his eyes at all?" A large cesspool was pulled out. The surrounding disciples also began to discuss amongst themselves. "Yeah, he doesn't seem happy at all. This brat is too arrogant, right? He actually doesn't put the Xinjian sect in his eyes. Then why did he come to take the examination? That's right, I don't think this kid is anything good." They all wanted to flatter the elders. Long Fei did not explain, nor did he want to explain anything. Ro Shui looked at Long Fei and walked forward and asked, "Do you have anything important to do?" At this time, you 2 elders are simply trying to kill Long Fei. You 2 have joined hands with the Zhou family to deal with him. Do you even have any face left? Chun Lihu's gaze darkened. He suddenly moved, and his leg kicked Niu Dahai's mouth. Bam! Niu Dahai spat out a mouthful of blood and flew a few meters away. Long Fei was instantly enraged. Niu Dahai revealed his bloodied teeth as he laughed wildly, saying, "What? It must be hard for you to be exposed, right? You should have killed me last night." Chun Lihu's killing intent rose, and he attacked again. The killing intent from Long Fei became extremely cold. However, he could not allow Long Fei to make a move. If Long Fei made a move, then he was truly finished. Immediately, Ro Shui whispered, "Leave it to me." His figure blurred, and in an instant, he arrived beside Chun Lihu and shouted, "Elder Chun, what are you trying to do?" Chun Lihu said in an aggressive manner, spitting out blood and slandering the elders, "As the great elder of the outer sect, I have the authority to teach him a lesson." Such authority. Shwa! Shwa! The 3 inner sect elders descended from the sky and landed beside Ro Shui. They disdainfully sneered and said, "A mere outer sect grand elder dares to come and teach a disciple a lesson without going through the law enforcement hall. Who gave you the right?" Chun Lihu's face darkened. Niu Dahai continued, The two of them have teamed up with the Zhou family to deal with Long Fei. Chen Lihu has accepted the bribes from the Zhou family and asked the 300 disciples to maintain the order. When did it become necessary for the other 300 disciples to do so? He is letting these 300 people deal with Long Fei. And him. Niu Dahai pointed at Wu Haowu and said, "Last night, junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling and I requested to see the sect master, but he stopped us at the door. He lied and said that he could stop the Zhou family from attacking Long Fei, so I gave all of my fire knife to him. Not only will he not stop me, he will also heavily injure me." The people from the Zhou family were even more daring and directly took junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling away. As soon as he finished, Long Fei's anger shot straight to the top of his head, his eyes bloodshot. Boom! Long Fei made a grasping motion in the air. The supreme artifact appeared on his right hand, and with a step, it directly stood in front of Chen Lihu and said gloomily, "Those who touch my brother die." The dragon's salure moved. Boom! The bloody light and the saber chi rampaged out crazily. The entire audience was shocked. Roshui was extremely shocked. She quickly grabbed Long Fei and said, "Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. I will definitely give you justice." Long Fei was very strong. At the very least, the aura emitted from his body shocked Roshui greatly. She was sure Long Fei's talent must be very strong. This kind of disciple must definitely be protected. If Long Fei made a move against Chen Lihu, even she would not be able to protect herself. Niu Dahai also said, "Boss, I am fine. Quickly go and save Yuan Ling and the rest. The Zhou family will take action against them. Hurry up and go. If you go too late, I'm afraid junior sister apprentice Yuan Ling will." Now that there were 4 inner sect elders here, he believed that Chen Lihu would no longer dare to make a move against him. Long Fei clenched his fist and turned around to leave. However, Wu Haowu, who had not made a sound until now, took a step forward and blocked Long Fei's path and shouted, "You cannot leave. There are some things that you must clarify. How did you kill those 300 outer disciples? Are you a disciple of the devil sect?" He could not hide the fact that 300 disciples had died. He could only blame all of this on Long Fei, as the identity of a disciple of the devil sect was the best excuse. Long Fei coldly spat out one word, "Scram." Wu Haowu sneered and said, "Did I see through your true identity? Speak, which devil sect are you from?" Long Fei's eyes turned sinister, his killing intent dense. One word at a time, "I say you old brat, scram far, far away." 36 search. Half floating / / equals. Wu Haowu's eyes turned sinister. "You're courting death." Long Fei was furious. "Let me see who is courting death." Anger arose in her heart. Wu Shuang. Double stats activated. Chapter 6, the recommended friends book, City Game System. Like to support, thank. 8_8419/2356603. He was enraged to the extreme. He was enraged to the extreme. The only thing that Long Fei wanted to do was to save Yuan Ling. After hearing what Fatty Nyo had to say, he felt extremely upset. He did not expect so many things to happen in a single day. At this moment, kill whoever blocks him. With the double attribute added in, the dragon salure in Long Fei's hand released waves after waves of angry dragon roars. The 2 inner court elders shouted, "Elder Wu, let him go." Wu Haowu said, "If he's gone, then he won't come back at that time. 300 outer court disciples will die in vain. We cannot let him go. The demonic sect disciples are already bullying the Xianjian Peak. If we don't, not waiting for him to finish." The dragon salure in Long Fei's hands shook violently. "This father will bully this one today." Dragon salure technique. Skin open, bone cracking. In just 10% of a second, Dragon Salure S unleashed all 7 moves. Hurricane cut. Long Fei flew up into the air, his body moving. He appeared in the air, and the bloodlight Dragon Salure in his hands violently struck down. Dragon Chop. 390 slashes. Whoosh, 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 asterisk the saber energy danced wildly. The dragon Salyer was also wildly dancing. Long Fei's figure constantly moved like lightning. Boom! The last slash smashed Wu Haowu to the ground, causing him to fall down as well. One foot stepped on Wu Haowu's head and said sinisterly, "Please do not challenge this brother's patience." Finished. His right foot shook and he exerted force. Pa! With one foot, Wu Haowu's head was stomped into the mud. However, it was a pity that he didn't kill him. It had to be said that Wu Haowu's defense was very strong. He could only deal half the damage from the dragon chop. He didn't die. Long Fei's heart turned sinister. His killing intent rose once again. His arms shook and his muscles bulged. Splitting pulse technique. Boom. Asterisk, asterisk, boom. Asterisk, boom, boom. The earth rumbled and a powerful counterforce attacked. After sending the half-dead Wu Haowu flying back, Long Fei moved his arms. Mountain hit fist. Bang, bang. 2 punches flew out. It sent Wu Haowu flying 100 meters away. However, not dead yet. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Just what defensive suit is he wearing? I'm going to kill him. It was also at this time. The 2 intersect elders by Ro Shui's side recovered and immediately stopped Long Fei and said, "This is Xinjian sect. I do not allow you to mess around." Brat, do you still want to get Yuanling alone? Do you still want to wash away this grievance? If you want to, then listen to me. Stop. Ro Shui also anxiously said, "Long Fei, if you kill him, the consequences would be unthinkable. If you don't do it for yourself, you should also think it over for Nyo Dahai. I will definitely help you to the end with this matter." She was liking this young man more and more. His talent was unimaginably high. Nyo Dahai also followed. "Boss, you should go save junior sister apprentice Yuanling first. She needs you even more right now." Wu Hao was already unconscious. He was completely stunned by Long Fei. He never expected that Long Fei would suddenly attack him, nor did he expect that Long Fei's strength would be terrifying to such an extent. Long Fei kept his dragon Salures and turned to walk down the mountain. At this time, Chen Lihu said lightly, "Elder Ro Shui, what if he doesn't come back? Do you bear all the consequences?" Not waiting for Ro Shui to speak, Long Fei shouted loudly, "Don't worry, I will definitely come back to kill you." Chen Lihu's eyes turned cold. For some reason, fear welled up in his heart. He was suddenly afraid. However, the fear instantly disappeared, as this was the Xinjian sect, not a place where anyone could behave atrociously. Just a moment ago, Long Fei had heavily injured Wu Haowu. Chen Lihu went forward to help Wu Haowu up and said, "Elder Wu, I will bring you to be treated." "You can't leave," Chen Lihu said. "He will return, and I will return as well." "Elder Ro Shui, you could be at ease. I will definitely not let him get away with this by killing 300 of my outer court disciples. Only the disciples of the Devil Sect will do such a thing. I will absolutely not let the Devil Sect disciples be so presumptuous in our Xinjian sect." He supported Wu Haowu up and quickly fed him a healing pill. Wu Haowu woke up in a daze and said, "Go to the inner sect to find my big brother. Go quickly, as long as my big brother arrives. That bitch Ro Shui won't dare to be rash." "Long Fei, I must kill you." Wu Haowu's cultivation was not strong. The reason he could become an inner sect elder was not because of his cultivation, but because of his elder brother, Wu Haoyan. As long as he appeared, nothing would be a problem. Chen Lihu immediately said, "I will go right now." "Elder Wu, hold on." Wu Haowu replied, "Don't worry, I'm fine. Just go quickly and find my big brother." He was well aware of his injuries. If it weren't for the armor his big brother gave him, he would already be dead. And then there was Long Fei. He ran with all his might, charging straight for Zhou Town. At this moment, at the Zhou mansion, in a secret room, Zhou Yunhe stared at the hanging Yuan Ba and coldly said, "You bastard, if I hadn't given you a bite to eat back then, you would have already starved to death on the streets. Now you are helping outsiders deal with me? All right, very good." Zhou Yunhe's eyes were cold and cruel. He said to the disciple beside him, "How is the preparation of the things I asked you to prepare?" That disciple walked up to him with an urn in his hand and said, "Patriarch, that thing is inside." Zhou Yuanhe opened the bottle and took a look, then sneered, "Very good. This blood corpse king worm was developed by me after 10 years. You still don't know? From the moment I first laid eyes on you, I felt that there was God power in your body. You have a perfect body, the body of a king of blood corpse. King of blood corpse will make you stronger, huh?" Zhou Yuan's eyes turned, and he said, "Put him down. I want to refine him into a blood corpse. You want to leave my Zhou family? From the day you entered the gate of the Zhou family, you are a dog of the Zhou family. Right now you are, and will be, even in your next life." Yuan Ba stared at him, staring straight at Zhou Yuanhe. Even until now, there was no resentment in his eyes, and there was even a hint of gratitude in his gaze. To him, the favor of eating a meal was the favor of eating a meal. There was nothing else. Zhou Yuanhe laughed coldly. "It was you who opened your mouth? Where do you want me to?" Yuan Ba closed his eyes and opened his mouth. Zhou Yuanhe laughed. "A dog is still a dog, one obedient dog. Put the blood corpse king in his mouth. Long Fei, didn't you want this dog? Then I'll let him deal with you, huh? Since you killed my grandson, I will definitely repay this debt with 100 times the power." Zhou Yuanhe looked at the huge blood corpse king worm crawling into Yuan Ba's mouth and laughed maniacally. A few minutes later, Zhou Town, in front of the Zhou Mansion's gate. Long Fei dragged his dragon salyer and roared, "Zhou Yuanhe, get the hell out here." Chapter 7. A book about recommending friends. Author 6. Wu Chun. Support those who like it. Today was the 7th chapter. There were no more manuscripts. Recently, he had been trying to rush the script to get sick. Now, he had a severe cold and felt very uncomfortable. 8_8419/2356604. Rumble, rumble, fury like thunder. The killing intent that diffused from Long Fei's body was incomparably thick. Who dares to behave so atrociously in the Zhou mansion? Kid, I think you're tired of living. Kill him. The two sect guards immediately rushed forward, their swords striking Xiang Long Fei. Without even looking at it, the dragon salyer moved. Shwa shwa. The gatekeeper was instantly killed. Ding, ding. The two-system beep-s sounded out. Fresh blood splattered on a Long Fei's face. With one hand holding the dragon salyer, he was like a god of death. "Who is it? Dog, do you know where this is?" 6 disciples of the Zhou family ran out, unsheathed their swords, and attacked Xiang Long Fei at the same time. The dragon salyer in Long Fei's hand hacked down. The two of them were instantly killed, blood spurting out from their mouths. The faces of the remaining 4 paled as they continuously retreated. One of them shouted, "Quick, quick, report this to the clan leader." He continued to retreat. In about half a minute, more than 10 disciples of the Zhou family were gathered in front of Long Fei. Because the aura Long Fei was releasing was simply too terrifying. They were crushed to the point that they couldn't even breathe. Long Fei shook violently and roared again, "Zhou Yuanhe, you old thing. Get the hell out here right now." Boom! Who dares to be so arrogant? A flying sword shot out, shooting at the center of Xiang Long Fei's brows. A figure followed closely behind. Grand Elder Zhou Ha. Ha ha! Great Clan Elder is an expert of the War Master Ream. This brat will definitely suffer. Let's see how he can still act so arrogantly then. You are courting death for you to behave so atrociously in the Zhou family. The sounds of discussion were not finished yet, and Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. Moonlit step. Shwa! Rushing straight up into the air, he looked down from above, wielding his blade with both hands and chopping down like a battle axe. The blood-red sword aura from the dragon's salyer slashed through the air. Crack! The flying sword broke into 2 pieces and fell from the sky. The figure did the same. A human head tumbled down from the air, its eyes as wide as an ox's. It didn't even know how it died, and its pupils were filled with fear. Long Fei landed heavily, stepped on his head, and roared again. "Zhou Yuanhe, hand over this daddy's woman and brothers." Crack! Brain matter burst out, splattering in all directions. The surroundings instantly became incomparably silent. Was he even human? An expert of the first level of War Master was killed in a single strike. He was simply not a human. Higher! A mournful cry rang out, and in the next moment, the silhouette of an ash wolf appeared. Zhou Yuanhe. The Zhou clan head was also the strongest expert of the Zhou clan. Zhou Hai was his son. Looking at the spot where his son had disappeared, the anger in his heart burned frantically, and his gaze was as cold as ice. He stared at Long Fei and said solemnly, "You will die. You will definitely die." First the two gifted grandsons, now his sons. The white man sent the black man. He had suffered such pain 3 times in the span of a few days, and all of them had died at the hands of a single person. The anger in his heart could be imagined. Don't talk nonsense with Laozi. Hand Yuan Ling over. Hand Yuan Ba over, and I will not pursue the rest of the matters. Long Fei did not want to bicker with Zhou Yuanhe. He was only worried for Yuan Ling and Yuan Ba. Zhou Yuanhe said coldly, "You want them, right? Sure. Drag that woman out." As soon as his voice faded, 2 disciples of the Zhou family dragged Yuan Ling out. Yuan Ling's entire body was wounded, his head was bleeding, his face was swollen. It was clear that he was beaten up. When Yuan Ling saw Long Fei, he smiled lightly at first, but then shouted weakly, "Long Fei, quickly, quickly, quickly." Hee. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. The key sound was released, his entire body releasing a blazing aura. His aura ignited with anger. He looked at Yuan Ling and gently said, "I will bring you out of here immediately. I will bring you out immediately." A girl as beautiful as Yuan Ling was tormented to this extent. Even if Long Fei's temper was any better, he wouldn't be able to tolerate it at this moment. Zhou Yuanhe laughed coldly. "You like her, right? She's important to you, isn't she?" While speaking, his voice suddenly changed. "Long Fei, kneel down. Otherwise, I'll kill her immediately." The 2 disciples of the Zhou family suddenly moved. Both swords rested on Yuan Ling's neck. They looked at Long Fei with contempt, and both of them spoke at the same time. "You dog, kneel down." Yuan Ling's tears rolled in her eyes as she shook her head and said, "No, no, no." A woman's tears were Long Fei's fatal injury. He couldn't help but think of Lu Luoxi's tears. It made him think about the scene of Hong Tianjun stomping him down. This made him think of the scene of Lu Luoxi kneeling to Hong Tianjun. Long Fei roared towards the sky. He turned and stared coldly at Zhou Yuanhe. The violent killing intent was like a primordial beast that struck his mind. Zhou Yuanhe looked at Long Fei and burst out laughing. "Long Fei, is this great? Kneel." Long Fei let out a light breath. The anger, the killing intent, seemed to have disappeared from his body in this moment, and he said slightly, "You want me to kneel down, right? All right, kneel before your ancestors." Shua. When everyone was feeling extremely proud and thought that they could grab on a Long Fei's weakness, Long Fei's figure suddenly disappeared. Zhou Yuanhe frowned, then shouted out, "Kill her!" Crack! Crack! 2 heads flew into the air, and fresh blood sprayed out crazily from their necks. Those 2 disciples still stood there motionlessly. Even when their heads fell to the ground, they still stood there motionlessly. Long Fei squatted down, gently pushed the messy hair on Yuan Ling's forehead behind his ears, and gently comforted, it's fine, everything's fine." Poochie. Woo woo woo. At this moment, Yuan Ling could no longer control it. The defensive barrier in his heart had collapsed, and he threw himself into Long Fei's embrace and cried loudly. He cried his heart out. It made people's hearts ache with pain. She thought she was going to die. She was not afraid. Deep in her heart, she was afraid that Long Fei would die. All this time, she had always been very strong. She had always been working hard with all her might, facing any man coldly. She had always told herself that she must continue to be strong. After meeting Long Fei, her life had completely changed. She would be sad. She would worry. She would worry. She would become anxious. She would miss, and her mind would wander. What is this? She didn't even know it. Right now, She only wanted to throw herself into Long Fei's embrace and cry loudly. Long Fei lightly patted Yuan Ling's back and gently said, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. With me here, no one in this world can bully you." It was also at this moment. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the test mission, for obtaining a reward of 10,000 experience points, 1,000 true chi, and 1,000 points. Ding! System evaluation. Equals semi/floating life plus. Ding! Congratulations to the player for obtaining an S rank score. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward. The first chapter recommends a friend's book, Level Imitation Weapon King. Likes to support a little, thank you. 8_8419/2356605. He's here. He's here. Hearing the system beep, Long Fei was a little excited. What would the special reward be? This was what he had always been hoping for. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining any woman's intimacy +1, huh? Long Fei was a little confused. He did not understand and opened the system to look, reading each word, then becoming even more confused. Any woman's intimacy +1. Women in the whole world can obtain 1 point of intimacy just by seeing each other. What's the use of that? The system is F***King good, but I'm just messing around with it, right? Long Fei was immediately depressed. He had thought that he could get something good. I'm so disappointed. The intimacy was full at 100 points, so what stage was 1 point of intimacy? Ordinary stage. It was useless at all. More importantly, not only would his intimacy increase, it would decrease as well. In terms of language, any behavior that a woman did not like would decrease. Thus, even 1 point of intimacy was useless. That's not right. Just then, Long Fei felt that he was a little motionless, because after the special reward, the way Yuan Ling looked at him became different. View now, discovering. His and Yuan Ling's intimacy had already reached 90, which means to say, he had entered the stage where he could do whatever he wanted. Do whatever you want. Anything. Then, Long Fei looked at Yuan Ling and thought, it's about time for me to get rid of my virgin self, right? F***CK. What time is it? I'm still thinking about this. Long Fei scolded himself. Yuan Ling also shouted loudly, be careful. Long Fei carried Yuan Ling and stood up, picking up the dragon salure on the ground, then looked at Yuan Ling and said, wait for me here for a moment. It settled very quickly. Yuan Ling lightly nodded like a blissful little woman. Long Fei watched and laughed, then retreated, dragging the dragon's salure with him as he chopped down, splitting a disciple into 2 halves. He stood there heavily, like a war god, firmly protecting Yuan Ling behind him. Zhou Yuanhe, where's my brother Yuan Ba? Long Fei looked at Zhou Yuanhe and said coldly, are you going to make me kneel again this time? Zhou Yuanhe gritted his teeth until it made a cracking sound. Long Fei, are you trying to find that dog? Yuan Ba? If you want to look for it, I won't allow you to. Kill them all. He won't be able to hold on for long. Zhou Yuanhe retreated a little, but he had already swallowed the Blood Corpse Russian king. The king of Blood Corpse would still need a little more time to control him. They would also be able to arouse the power within Yuan Ba's body. He needed to wait. Wait a minute. Facing clan leader Zhou Yuanhe, the Zhou family disciples did not dare disobey and rushed towards Xiang Long Fei. Long Fei laughed coldly. You touch my brother and hurt my woman. In your Zhou family, your father's actions today have been overturned. The dragon salure withdrew. He moved his arms. His consumption of true chi was too fast, and he could no longer use it as he wished. He needed the true chi, so he could use the power of his own realm to kill all of these people. Bam! Releasing the power of a war chief level 6, he sent a person flying with a punch. Bang, bang, bang. Relying on his superiority in levels, as well as his rich combat experience, combined with his coquettish positioning in the game, Long Fei's punch landed on flesh. He continued to kill some of the disciples. It was carefree and carefree. In less than 10 minutes, dozens of disciples fell to the ground and remained motionless. The entire Zhou family was left with only a few people by Zhou Yuan's side. Zhou Yuan could not believe it. What kind of person was Long Fei? No matter who he was facing, no matter how strong or weak, he would strike with his full strength. If he could kill someone, he definitely wouldn't be crippled. Madman. He was completely a madman. Zhou Yuan's heart felt a wave of fear. He was also a warm master ream cultivator, but he was afraid now, because he was not confident. Block him. Quick, block him. Zhou Yuan shouted. The other Zhou family disciples did not dare to step forward and continuously retreat. One of them immediately ran away. I'm not a member of the Zhou family. I'm just a nobody. Don't kill me, don't kill me. He ran out like a madman. The people around Zhou Yuan lessened, and he grew more and more afraid. At this moment, rumble, a loud explosion resounded. A disciple was sent flying with an urn in his hand. Clang! The urn shattered, and black blood flowed all over the floor. The disciple's chest had been penetrated by an incomparably powerful supreme force. Pure strength. Boom! The secret room collapsed. A 3-meter-tall, rugged man stood there. From afar, he looked like a giant. A trace of blood-red light flashed across his eyes. His body was releasing such a demonic aura. The aura released from his body was extremely oppressive. Even Long Fei could not take it. An incomparably powerful, pure, and overwhelming power. Zhou Yun's eyes turned sinister as he started laughing excitedly. Long Fei, the Yuan Ba is here, huh? Yuan Ba, kill him for me. Get an order. Yuan Ba took a step. Bang, bang, bang. Every step he took caused the entire Zhou mansion to shake. It was like a small earthquake. He rushed to Long Fei's front and stared at Long Fei. Without any hesitation, he punched at Long Fei. Long Fei blocked the incoming punch with his 2 fists. Whoosh! Boom! He was directly sent flying dozens of meters away, crashing into a wall and causing the entire wall to collapse. The corner of Long Fei's mouth was stained with blood, and his hands were numb. Looking at Yuan Ba, who was rushing towards him like a bulldozer, Long Fei's heart sank. At the same time, Long Fei shouted loudly, Yuan Ba, it's me, I'm Long Fei. Don't you remember me? Long Fei. These 2 words were reflected in Yuan Ba's mind, and he stopped for half a second. It was also at this moment. Zhou Yuan bellowed, You dog, I told you to kill him. Did you not hear me? Command passed down. Yuan Ba punched towards Long Fei again. He couldn't carry it anymore. Yuan Ba's power was too strong. Even Long Fei was a little unable to withstand it. Teleportation. He instantly teleported to another location. Long Fei stared at Zhou Yuan and asked, Zhou Yuan, what exactly did you do for him? Zhou Yuan laughed coldly. It's nothing. It's just a king of blood corpse. Right now, he only listens to my words, and he's even more obedient than dogs. Ha ha ha. Yuan Ba, what are you waiting for? Floating life. Table of contents, no windows. A ++, kill him. Had seen the blood corpse before when he killed Luo Xiao, and he had heard of it before, but this was the first time he had heard of the Blood Corpse King. At this moment, Yin Huang Ancestor's voice came out. Blood Corpse King bugs, you need a long time to nurture them, and you need all kinds of blood essence. Once the Blood Corpse King bugs enter your body, I'm afraid it can never be saved again. The second chapter recommends a friend's book, Carefree Small Shin Gnome. Likes to support, thank 8_8419/2356606. And can't be saved again. And can't be saved again. Long Fei was dumbstruck. At this moment, his gaze locked onto Zhou Yuan. His anger was like a volcano erupting. You did this. Zhou Yuan was not afraid of Long Fei at all right now, and he had clearly seen the 2 punches just now. Long Fei was not Yuan Ba's match, and laughed complacently. I have nurtured this king of blood corpse for 10 years, and it cost me countless of blood and sweat. From the moment I first laid eyes on Yuan Ba, I knew that he was the perfect vessel. He has inborn divine strength and forelimbs. He can withstand the swallowing pain of the king of blood corpse and will not die during this process. But Zhou Yuanhe looked at his work that he was very proud of and said, "It's just that I never thought that the power that he had exploded out would be so much stronger than what I imagined. Haha. Long Fei, didn't you want to find Yuan Ba? Go, fight him head on, ha." Zhou Yuanhe laughed out arrogantly. Right now, he only listens to my orders. You treat him as a brother, but in his eyes, you are his enemy. Long Fei, I want to avenge my 2 grandsons, my son, and the Zhou family. Yuan Ba, kill him. Zhou Yuanhe was furious. Yuan Ba rushed towards Xiang Long Fei once again. Long Fei was enraged, thoroughly enraged. How could there be such a sinister person in this world? The anger in his heart could no longer be suppressed. Boom! Long Fei roared out in rage. Zhou Yuanhe, F***K your ancestors. Shua! As if his body was a remnant, he rushed to the front of Zhou Yuanhe and grabbed his collar, then jerked his head fiercely. He was lifted into the air and then slammed heavily onto the ground. Rumble! Zhou Yuanhe had no time to react at all. His body smashed to the ground, causing the ground to crack, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Yuan Ba, are you blind? Hurry up and kill him. Bam! Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei punched out. Zhou Yuanhe spat out a mouthful of blood and said, Yuan Ba, you dead dog, hurry up. Bam! Long Fei punched again and roared, even if you were died 10,000 times, it's still not enough. Instantly, Long Fei's fists were like a storm. Every punch was filled with all his strength and smashed on his Zhou Yuanhe's chest. He was enraged to the extreme. After 10 punches, his chest was pierced through. His intestines were flowing out and his internal organs were flowing out, but Zhou Yuanhe did not die, because Long Fei did not let him die. Seeing his intestines on the ground, Zhou Yuanhe's face became pale from fright, his eyes filled with fear, and he said, Trash, you can't kill me. If you kill me, you will die too. Xinjian sect won't let you go. Qinlihu won't let you go. Wu Hao won't either. My grandson Zhou Tianyu won't either. He's the most talented, genius disciple of the Xinjian sect. He's also a closed-door disciple of the Xinjian sect's sect master. If you dare kill me, the entire Xinjian sect won't forgive you. Long Fei grinned. I won't kill you. When did I say I would kill you? People like you aren't even qualified to die by my hands. After Long Fei took out all of his intestines and organs, he did not continue because he wanted to keep Zhou Yuanhe alive. Long Fei stood up and looked at Yuan Ba, who was rushing towards him. His heart tightened as he asked, Ancestor, you are an expert of the Chaos Realm. Is there really no way to deal with this king of blood corpse? Looking at Yuan Ba, Long Fei felt very uncomfortable in his heart. How could this Luby be so stupid? How could he swallow a king of blood corpse just to repay a favor? Too stupid. Looking at his scarlet eyes, Long Fei fiercely roared out, Luby, I'm Long Fei. The voice carried a true qi that penetrated his body. It directly charged into Yuan Ba's mind. When Yuan Ba's fist landed, he stood in place without moving an inch. Suddenly, the fist stopped right in front of Long Fei, just 1 centimeter away from his head. He stopped. After the fist landed, Yuan Ba looked at Long Fei. The two of them looked at each other. Yuan Ba's eyes were filled with pain, as if saying, I feel so uncomfortable. I feel so uncomfortable. Long Fei's heart ached. He asked again in his heart, Ancestor, is there really no way? He really didn't want to give up. Even if there was a sliver of a chance, he didn't want to give it up. The magic equipment that he refined, Raging Thunder, was specially made for Yuan Ba. His Space Ring S, as well as his giant spirit arm, had not been merged yet, and it was specially made for him. He really treated Yuan Ba as a brother. He really wanted this brother, because his stupidity had moved Long Fei. The Yan Huang ancestor said slightly, If my strength were to recover, forget about King of Blood Corpse. Even if Blood Dragon King Chong Wang, I would be able to instantly clear it away. I am only a remnant soul right now. I don't even have 1/1000th of my former strength. However, Long Fei, I have a way to save him, but you have to think about it carefully, because even if this method succeeds, he will eventually become a retarded fool. Also, the chances of failure are very high. You have to think carefully, at least he won't die like this. If Yin Huang ancestor did not continue. He himself also felt that he couldn't help to help Long Fei. It was true in the Fireglass City, and it was true here. This feeling made him feel very bad. However, he was still just a discarnate soul. How much power could he possibly have? As if he had heard the words of the Yin Huang ancestor, Yuan Ba said to Long Fei with great difficulty, "Save, save, save me." Long Fei looked at him. He could feel the pain in Yuan Ba's body, the pain of his brain being devoured. Yin Huang ancestor also said, "He probably swallowed the king of blood corpse within an hour. There's still a chance for success. Brat, hurry up and make your decision." "All right," Long Fei said. "I want to save him." Long Fei looked at Yuan Ba and said, "Lu Bi, I will definitely save you. Even if you become an idiot, you're still my Long Fei's brother." Yin Huang ancestor slightly said, "Listen carefully. What did I say? What did you do? You can't go back on your word. Also, he must not resist, and let him suppress the king of blood corpse in his body." Long Fei said, "Come." Yin Huang ancestor replied, "True Qi move. All four skeletons gather at the tip of one finger, condensed into a blade, using Qi as a blade." Long Fei did as he was told. The true Qi surged, and its value was quickly decreasing. Long Fei's true Qi blade entered Yuan Ba's mind, and that king of blood corpse was frantically controlling Yuan Ba to counterattack. Yuan Ba's entire body was trembling. However, his fist stopped several times when he was still half a kilometer away from Long Fei because a ball of consciousness was planted in his mind. Long Fei was the only person who was good to him in this world. The only one. http:// half an hour later. Long Fei's fingers loosened, and his entire body became extremely weak. This was the first time in history that he was this weak. Yuan Ba's body also suddenly shrunk as his throat churned, and he fiercely spat out a mouthful of black blood. Within the blood was a thumb-like king of blood corpse. Yin Huang ancestor slightly said, "Whether or not he can wake up now all depends on himself." Chapter 38_8419/2356607. Lu Bi, you must endure it. Lu Bi, you must endure it. Definitely. While talking, Long Fei stood up. Yuan Ling anxiously ran over and supported Long Fei, saying, "Long Fei, you need to rest now. Don't move recklessly." Long Fei walked to the side of Zhou Yuanhe, who was still desperately struggling. Zhou Yuanhe said in fear, "You said that you won't kill me. As a man, you should keep your word." He was truly afraid now. Long Fei was really a madman, a complete madman. Long Fei smiled and said, "I have indeed said that I won't kill you, and I've also guaranteed to you that I definitely won't do anything to you again." And then Long Fei looked at Yuan Ling and said, "Go and fetch all those stray dogs from the street here." Yuan Ling nodded and said, "Okay." Zhou Yuantong felt his scalp go numb. "What do you want to do? You said you wouldn't kill me." "You said it." "Yeah, I didn't kill you." Long Fei laughed coldly and said, "A sinister person like you isn't even qualified to die by my hands. Didn't you always shout dog thing, dog trash? Today I'll let you experience the power of a dog." A few minutes later, 5 or 6 stray dogs seemed to charge towards Zhou Yuanhe. Zhou Yuanhe continued to tear at his intestines and organs. Zhou Yuanhe watched as he was torn apart by the stray dogs. Cruel? If compared to those methods he used on Yuan Ba, it couldn't even be compared to 10%. Zhou Yuanhe shouted loudly, "Long Fei, my grandson will not let you go, and Xinjian Sec will also not let you go. Just you wait." Just you wait. Howling sounds like that of pigs being butchered rang out in the air above the Zhou mansion. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Zhou Yuanhe, for gaining EXP, True Chi 200, energy values 10 points. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Spirit Stones. 21. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Ming Yu Sword. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. Directly exchanged all the trash into points. Zhou Yuan's death was just the beginning. He wouldn't let anyone who touched his brother get away with it. Long Fei looked at the towering Xianjian peak in the clouds, clenched his fists, and said, "Just you wait. Are you not letting me go? Your father, will definitely not let you off." Long Fei ate all of the Dragon Spirit pills. He was still a lot of experience away from leveling up, and leveling up would be a little difficult at the end of the day. He had to replenish his true Qi value. The Xianjian peak still had a tough battle waiting for him. Long Fei walked over to Yuan Ling's side, quietly looked at her, and muttered, "Why are you so stupid?" Yuan Ling was startled and said, What's wrong with me?" Long Fei said, "Fatty Nyo has already told me everything." Yuan Ling smiled lightly at Long Fei and said, "I am willing." Long Fei's heart ached as he asked, "Do you like Xinjian sect?" Turning the topic, Yuan Ling did not know what to say. He was stunned for half a second, then nodded. "I like it. Xinjian sect is a sect of the sword in the South Horizon region. I have always had this place as my target since I was young." Long Fei smiled and said, "Then you must work hard." "Of course." Yuan Ling said she had always been working hard, although she was kidnapped by the Zhou family, framed by Chen Lihu and Wu Haowu, but in her heart she had never resented the Xinjian sect. In her heart, she had always treated the Xinjian sect as her home. Long Fei could also see that there was fatty ox in his eyes. He had always wanted to revitalize the artifact forging hall. Long Fei took out the Thunder Snake sword from the space ring and said, "I always wanted to give it to you as a gift. I never had the chance. This is the Thunder Spirit sword I brought from the Thunder Dragon Temple, and it's suitable for you." The moment he took out the Thunder Snake sword, Yuan Ling was attracted. "For me?" Yuan Ling was a little excited. Long Fei nodded and said, "This is for you." Both of Yuan Ling's hands trembled as she received the Thunder Snake sword, because she felt an inexplicable sense of happiness. Long Fei laughed blandly. "This time, you must not casually give away your weapon." Yuan Ling held the Thunder Snake sword and took a step forward. When she moved in the courtyard, she was like a butterfly fairy that was dancing in the courtyard, causing Long Fei to feel extremely dizzy. Long Fei muttered to himself, "Take good care of yourself." The Zhou family had been massacred. After wounding an inner elder, it was already impossible for Long Fei to join the Xinjian sect. He knew this very well. Yuan Ling liked the Xinjian sect. He could not drag Yuan Ling into it. It was the same with the fat cow. Yin Huang, ancestor, asked, "Have you made your decision?" Long Fei answered, "It's done." The Yin Huang ancestor smiled slightly and said, "In Xinjian sect, you are able to lay down missions, find the heart of ancient fairy tree quickly, and quickly raise the strength of the dragon salyer. If you leave, I'm afraid that we will have to delay it again." "I'm fine. This is only one of the paths. Didn't you say that there is another path to take?" Long Fei smiled faintly. It was not that he wanted to leave, but he had no choice. If he didn't leave, then this matter might happen again someday, and that may not be the case. The Yin Huang ancestor laughed and said, "Kid, you really care about camaraderie." Long Fei also laughed. If you had swallowed all of my holy artifact, my heart would have broken into pieces. If you did not care about camaraderie, I will definitely break your third leg." Yin Huang ancestor was startled. Half an hour later, Yuan Ba moved. Long Fei immediately sensed it. "Lubi, wake up." Yuan Ba opened his eyes in a daze. His eyes were as young and tender as a 3 or 4-year-old child. He looked at Long Fei and asked curiously, "Who are you?" Long Fei immediately choked with sobs. She really wanted to drag Zhou Yuanhe out of the underworld and kill him 100,000 times over. She looked at Yuan Ba and smiled. "I'm your boss, Long Fei." "Boss?" "Long Fei." Yuan Ba scratched his head in a silly manner, sank into deep thought, and muttered to himself, "This name is so familiar, so intimate, But why can't I remember it? Yuan Ling also ran over. Yuan Ba asked again, and who is she? Yuan Ling said anxiously, I'm Yuan Ling. Don't you remember me? Yuan Ling, I don't remember. Not at all. Yuan Ba was just like a child. He didn't remember anything, other than a slight reaction to the word Long Fei. There was nothing else. Long Fei felt his heart ache. Yin Huang ancestors said, It's much better than I expected. He is only amnesia now. His memories should have been devoured by the Blood Corpse King. But luckily, he did not become an idiot. It's just a memory loss. As long as we have some time, he will be able to recover. I don't remember anything. Floating life. Table of contents. No windows? A++ Long Fei nodded and said, Thank you, ancestor. Yin Huang ancestor smiled. Yuan Ba looked at Long Fei and asked, You all have names, then who am I? Long Fei stood up and said in a serious tone, From today onwards, you will be called Li Yuan Ba. Chapter 48_8419/2356608. Li Yuan Ba. Li Yuan Ba. Li Yuan Ba. I like that name. Li Yuan Ba revealed a bright smile and laughed happily. This was the first time Long Fei saw him smile so happily. Long Fei also laughed. And then, Long Fei took out the giant spirit arms and said, These are a pair of giant spirit arms. Fuse them together. There's more. These are a pair of godly hammers, your exclusive weapons. Fury Thunder also took it out. Yuan Ling stared at the space between Lei's brows and said gently, This seems to be a demon weapon. Long Fei, it is best not to take this weapon out. If the disciples of Xinjian sect see it, I am afraid. Long Fei laughed. It doesn't matter. A weapon could observe a person's identity. If one were to hold this pair of lightning hammers in their hands, others would be able to tell that you were a member of the Devil sect at a glance. It was fine elsewhere, but this was the Xinjian sect. It was the sword faction that had an irreconcilable enmity with the Devil sect. Li Yuan Ba happily received the dual hammers and immediately jumped away. The dual hammers moved. Boom! 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 The power of thunder continued to wreak havoc in the void, and the giant spirit arms seemed to have been customized for him, completely fusing in a short moment. The divine power from Li Yuan Ba's body was released in an incomparably dense manner. Moreover, what surprised Long Fei the most was his expression and the aura his body was releasing. Demon. They never would have thought. Li Yuan Ba's body released a demonic aura. The Yin Huang ancestors said, Maybe it's because of the king of Blood Corpse. You might not notice, but the king of Blood Corpse he vomited out shrunk into a ball, and all of the profound qi in his body was absorbed. There is only one reason. It was absorbed by the blood vein energy in Yuan Ba's body, and that is why he entered the devil state. There is another possibility. Angry. The last thing the Zhou clan did to him was infuriated, and he went insane with rage. However, regardless of the reason, to him, becoming a demon is the best path and also the best choice, because in my memories, the ancient giant spirit god is a demon lord. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a demon of the divine spirit blood vein. Long Fei was stunned. Is the giant spirit god a demon elder? In the ancient times, there was a giant spirit god. However, the two of them were not the same person. Thunder raged. The sky above the Zhou mansion was rolling and roaring. All of this was because of Li Yuan Ba's power. It was extremely powerful. Furthermore, it was 3 meters tall with explosive muscles, giving off a strong visual impact. If he were to carry the Xian Ming sword sheath sarcophagus on his back, he would be invincible. Shock. Long Fei looked at Yuan Ba and asked, Yuan Ba, are you willing to follow me? Li Yuan Ba retracted his hammers and immediately nodded. I am willing. I am willing. You are the person who treats me the best. I will follow you my entire life. I am willing to be an ox or a horse. I am even willing to be a slave. At this moment, ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the Subduing Yuan Ba quest. You have obtained 100,000 points experience. 10,000 true chi points, 1,000 points. Ding! Quest score. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining a SS grade. Huh. Long Fei was startled. SS rank? Isn't the highest S rank one? There are also SS class ones? What kind of special rewards can you get for a high-level score? Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining a SS rating. The reward is free of charge. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for defeating Yuan Ba and obtaining a SS rating, activating 8 King Kong systems. What's going on? Long Fei was a little confused. He had seen countless systems, but what was 8 King Kong systems? Long Fei shivered and immediately checked. System: 8 King Kong systems, 8 War God system. They were Holy King Kong, Demon Subduing Vajra, Sword Force King Kong, Arrogant Knife King Kong, Arhut King Kong, Holy Armor King Kong, God, S Water King Kong, and Yuling Guardian Warrior. Description: every King Kong Supreme Force requires the player Long Fei to personally surrender. Every King Kong Supreme Elder needs to be acknowledged by the system before they can be considered as successful. Description 2. The return of the 8 Great King of Vajra will grant you a special reward of sect order, the establishment of your own sect. Notification: the current Holy King Kong is back. It was very obvious that Li Yuanba was the Holy King Kong. Long Fei was stunned. That old master of mine. Do you have to be so cocky? Do you want to give someone else a bit of space to live? If you make me too handsome like this, how can others live? Haha, I like 8 King Kong systems. Vajra, 8 people came out. That scene. Haha, I'm starting to get a little impatient. Long Fei became excited. A single Li Yuanba made him extremely excited. Touch of the 8 King Kong systems, which meant that there would be 7 other people as fierce as Li Yuanba in the future. That scene was simply too cool. He was so handsome that he didn't dare to think about it anymore. Long Fei thought, we will establish the sect, 8 great Vajra protectors good. I will definitely find all 8 of these people. My Long family will definitely dominate the entire Sky Martial continent. I will make the entire continent tremble for my Long family. Yuan Ling looked at the excited Long Fei and was a little confused. Long Fei, what's wrong? Long Fei quickly regained his composure and said, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm happy to see Yuan Ba recover. It was obvious that he was not happy. Yuan Ling did not ask again and said, what do you plan to do now? Long Fei said, it's very simple. Go to Xinjian's sect. Yuan Ba. Li Yuanba immediately replied, I'm here. Long Fei laughed. Follow me to Xinjian's sect. Yuan Ling panicked and said, he can't do it. He can't do it while holding that pair of lightning hammers. Long Fei, can you not do it? All right. Long Fei thought for a while, then took it out and said, Yuan Ba, put away the hammer first. Li Yuanba said, understood. He would not be long-winded. Long Fei continued, before we go to Xinjian Peak, let's make a trip there first. There's still one more thing we need to leave there. Xianming's sword. Xinjian Peak. It was a solemn atmosphere, filled with a vigorous aura. This dense qi crushed down on everyone in the martial arts arena. Intersect Great Elder Wu Haoyan, a level 1 War Emperor Warrior. His appearance caused the entire outer sect to feel extremely depressed. Standing beside him were 2 people. One was Chun Lihu, while the other was Wu Haowu. Wu Haoyan's voice sank, and she said faintly, Roshui, today we let the disciples of the Devil's Sect go right under your nose. How are you going to explain this matter? Strongest upgrade system. His identity had not been confirmed, but he had already confirmed that Long Fei was a disciple of the demon sect. Wu Haoyan continued, killing 300 disciples of my Xinjian sect. I will definitely not let this matter go easily. Soft water. It's good that he came back today. If he doesn't, you'll have to bear the consequences. Chapter 5, 8_8419/2356609. Sects were also existences with complicated powers. Sects were also existences with complicated powers. Wu Haoyan had always been unhappy with Ro Shui and the other two. He was in charge of the training hall, while Ro Shui and the other two were in charge of the hidden sword hall. Their sword techniques and sword skills were all being controlled by them. So if Wu Haoyan wanted to do something, he would need the sect master's instructions to enter. All these years, it had made him very unhappy. This time, he definitely had to step on Ro Shui's soft body when he got the chance. Ro Shui slightly said, "But what if your people colluded with each other and tried to murder the examinees?" Wu Haoyan gave a cold laugh and said, "I will follow the sect's rules." Chen Lihu and Wu Haowu's expressions became cold, and their bodies trembled. "Elder Chen, you secretly ordered 300 outer disciples to enter the hunting grounds. Although you said that you wanted to maintain order, the truth is that you are targeting a disciple who is taking the examination. Accept Zhou Yuan as bribe, and have Zhou Yuntian lead a group of people to assassinate Long Fei. As far as I know, it is because Long Fei obtained the secret treasure of the Thunder Dragon Temple that the Zhou family gathered so many people to deal with him, and you are the accomplice. Am I right?" Chun Lihu's face turned sinister, his palms breaking out in cold sweat. Without waiting for him to speak, Wu Haoyan smiled slightly and said, "The night before yesterday, when the devil aura was faintly discernible, this is the first time the Xianjian sect had produced devil aura in dozens of years. In order to ensure the smooth progress of this assessment, Elder Chun had sent out 300 outer sect disciples to maintain order. Is there anything amiss with that? It's Long Fei. He killed 300 outer sect elites in an instant. Only the disciples of the devil sect would be so cruel." "Elder Chun, am I right?" Chen Lihu immediately replied, "That's what I did. I only sent people to protect the disciples when I sensed the appearance of the devil aura. Who would have thought that Long Fei was actually a disciple of the devil sect? His methods were extremely ruthless." He relaxed and admired Wu Haoyan to the extreme. Ro Shui's eyes sunk and asked, "Do you have any evidence to prove that Long Fei killed those people?" "Evidence?" Chun Lihu immediately said, "I have a witness." "Witness?" Ro Shui's forehead tightened. One of the senior fellow apprentices behind her said in a low voice, "Junior sister apprentice, this matter is obviously Wu Haoyan's fault. You shouldn't bury yourself because of that brat. It's not worth it." Ro Shui ignored him and continued to ask, "Where is the witness?" Wu Haoyan smiled slightly and said, "Ro Shui, witnesses don't need to appear now. We are waiting for Long Fei now. If he doesn't come back, it will be sufficient proof that he is a disciple of the devil sect." Niu Dahai shouted loudly, "Long Fei is not a disciple of the demon sect. I saw him kill dozens of disciples from the blood refinement sect with my own eyes." Wu Haoyan laughed coldly. "This is where his brilliance lies. Your kind of IQ like a pig or a dog will naturally be stupefied by him." Niu Dahai was not happy and said, "Then what about Wu Haowu stealing my fire knife? How dare you?" Wu Haowu immediately became angry and said, "You dog, how can you call me by my name? Who do you think you are?" Wu Haoyan asked, "Did he steal his fire knife?" Wu Haowu said with a serious face, "I don't even know what he's talking about. I have never seen a fire knife before. Defamation of the clan elders. You deserve to die for your crimes." Wu Haoyan asked coldly, "Are you in the law enforcement hall?" And then an elder of the law enforcement hall stood up and said, "Yes." Wu Haoyan said, "You heard what I said just now, slandering an elder guilty of death, but I have a very good heart. It's fine if I die, but cut off the tendons in his arms and legs and throw him down the mountain." The face of the elder from the law enforcement hall changed. "Grand Elder, this." Wu Haoyan's eyes turned sinister, and he bellowed, "Did you not hear my words clearly?" Ro Shui said, "The law enforcement hall only accepts the sect head's orders. Your great elder hasn't given his all to order them." "Oh, no rights." Wu Haoyan laughed coldly, taking out an order badge from his bosom. "Do you have the power now?" "Sect Master Token." The person who saw the token acted as if he had seen the Grand Master. Ruoshui's expression changed while all the disciples kneeled on the ground. Wu Haoyan sneered in his heart. I already knew that you guys would do this, but this time I'll trample you underfoot. Heh. Where's the law enforcement hall? Wu Haoyan let out another heavy shout. Break the tendons in his hands and feet for me. Yes, sir. This time, the law enforcement elder didn't dare to disobey. Soft water stopped him. Master, isn't it too much to only talk about one side? Is there any fire knife on Wu Haowu? Take out the things inside his space ring, and you'll know. If there is, that means he stole Niu Dahai's fire knife. Wu Haoqian shook suddenly, stood up, and said, Impudent. On the account that you are an inner court elder and have always been polite to others, now you actually want to search the body of an inner court elder? What is this fatty's identity? What's the status of an inner court elder? I have shown great mercy by breaking his tendons. If you anger me, I will kill him on the spot. His voice carried an incomparably strong aura of War Emperor. It was like the roar of a hungry tiger, crushing the soft water. It was very hard. The surrounding crowd also echoed. Great Elder is right. He is just an outer sect disciple trash. How can he request for an inner sect elder's help? Outer core trash, so be it. There's no such thing as a pity. How could outer sect waste have a heaven-ranked spirit weapon? This is simply impossible. Exactly. Outer court trash, outer court trash. This phrase deeply provoked Niu Dahai. Clenching his fists and teeth tightly, the anger in his heart had never been so intense before. 3 elders behind Roshui also pulled her back and advised in a low voice. Junior Sister Apprentice, you cannot defeat him. He has the sect master badge. We can't do anything. Furthermore, this inner and outer sect are his people. If you continue to be like this, you will only be trapping yourself in. Yeah. Junior Sister Apprentice, listen to my advice. Let's wait for the Grand Master to come out of seclusion. Now, Wu Haoyan had the advantage in all aspects. They have a witness. Demonic energy had also appeared before. Wu Haoyan's advantage was too great. There was no way to win. The entire outer sect was his men. How could he fight them? Wu Haoyan looked coldly at Roshui and sneered disdainfully. Elder Roshui, do you still have anything else to say? Wu Haowu crossed his arms in front of his chest with a smug look on his face. Chunlihu was also extremely pleased with himself. Strongest upgrade system. As far as they were concerned, they'd won. The most important point was that they did not have to bear any responsibility for the death of the 300 outer sect disciples. Suddenly, on the stairs outside the training field, a voice rang out. You don't need to search yourself to see if there's a fire knife. You'll know once it explodes. Chapter 68_8419/2356610. Before he could finish, a youth walked up the stairs, step by step. His figure slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was Long Fei. Behind him, the top of a coffin slowly appeared, and finally a 3M tall big guy, Li Yuanba. Carrying a sarcophagus on his back, he had a tall and sturdy build and a powerful physique, giving off an incomparable visual impact. Then there was the Yuanling. The 3 of them slowly approached the training field. All eyes were on the 3 of them. Wu Haowu immediately said in a low voice, Big brother, he is Long Fei. Wu Haoyan squinted his eyes. He did not expect Long Fei to really dare to come back. At the same time, the aura of the War Emperor realm was released. Wu Haoyan frowned. He doesn't have any devilish aura on him. If that's the case, Wu Haoyan began to plan in his heart. He had to make good use of this matter to trample on Roshui and the others. Niu Dahai replied excitedly, Boss. Long Fei did not look at Niu Dahai, but continued, There's no need to search. You will know once it explodes. Walking to the side of Roshui, Long Fei whispered his thanks and said, Thank you. I will take care of the rest myself. No matter what sort of things I do or what actions I take, you better not get involved. It's best not to let any innocent disciples get involved either. Roshui's heart trembled and immediately asked, Long Fei, what are you planning to do? Don't mess around. I'll definitely help you. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, do what I have to do. Finished. Long Fei took a step forward, looked at Wu Hao Yin and sneered, and said, Wu Hao Wu, did it feel good being beaten by me just now? Direct provocation. The crowd burst into an uproar. Wu Hao's expression changed drastically as he became extremely ugly. Gritting his teeth, he said, you dog, if it wasn't for your sneak attack just now, I would have taken your life. It was also at this time. The corner of Long Fei's eyes widened. Yuan Ba. Yuan Ba replied honestly, understood. With that, he took Zhou Yuan's head out from the space ring and threw it onto the stage, rolling at Wu Haoyan's feet. Long Fei said coldly, Zhou Yuan has said everything. The three of you colluded with each other to kill me. Are you even worthy? Long Fei looked like he was not afraid of the big deal. It was completely illogical. Even Wu Haoyan was stunned, but then, this was even better as he said, since you've said so yourself, let me ask you, why did you kill those 300 disciples? While they were talking, Chun Lihu immediately called out a group of witnesses. Pointing at Long Fei, he asked, did he kill Zhou Tianyun and the rest? Everyone quickly nodded. That's right, that's him. We saw him with our own eyes. There's no need to mention how cruel he can be. He's a demon. Chun Lihu immediately roared. Long Fei, what else do you have to say? Long Fei sneered and said, there's nothing much to say. What can I say? Chun Lihu laughed complacently. Then you admit to it? Admit it. Long Fei did not try to quibble at all. Chun Lihu laughed complacently and said loudly, did you hear that? Did you hear that? He had admitted it himself. What was the law enforcement hall waiting for? Quick, take him down. Isn't it too fast? It was surprisingly fast. Long Fei laughed. Chun Lihu, why didn't you tell us why you sent Zhou Yuntian to kill me? Why don't you ask these witnesses what kind of martial skill I used to kill all 300 of them at the same time? Chun Lihu was speechless for a moment and couldn't help but look at Wu Haoyan. Speak, why aren't you saying anymore? Long Fei asked, 300 outer court disciples to maintain order? Chun Lihu stuttered, I didn't send anyone to kill you at all. Those 300 disciples were there to prevent the demon sect's disciples from invading and to maintain order. Long Fei laughed. Where are the disciples of the devil sect? Chun Lihu clenched his teeth and said, you are a disciple of the devil sect. Me? Ha ha! Long Fei started laughing, staring at Wu Haoyan. Am I a disciple of the devil sect? Wu Haoyan said coldly, only you know whether you are a disciple of the devil sect or not. It is a fact that you have decided to kill 300 outer sect disciples. You admitted it yourself. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as he shouted, because they deserve to die. How dare you? Wu Haoyan roared angrily. It's not up to a piece of trash like you to decide whether or not they should die. Long Fei laughed sinisterly and said, I'm a piece of trash, right? In that instant, Long Fei's aura burst forth, and he said, today, I, Long Fei, will challenge your Xinjian sect. I want to see who is the trash. Chun Lihu, didn't you want to kill me? Come, I'll challenge you by name. Arrogant, domineering, arrogant beyond belief. To challenge the entire Xinjian sect. Everyone was shocked. Niu Dahai was dumbstruck. Yuan Ling was immediately stupefied, while Rou Shui and the other three were at a loss. What was he saying? It was as if they didn't understand. Wu Haoyan's lips curved up as he sneered. What did you say just now? Long Fei said word by word. I say, I want to challenge your entire Xinjian sect. Puchi. Ha ha. Ha. The crowd burst into laughter. Almost everyone was laughing and mocking him nonstop. To challenge the entire Xinjian sect? Is my brain spasming? A person at the 6th level of war chief challenging the entire Xinjian sect? If he wasn't a fool, then he must have a screw loose. I'll do it. A disciple raised his sword and instantly flew to Long Fei's side. At this moment, boom! Yuan Ba's footsteps moved as he carried the enormous stone coffin on his back. His body weighed more than 5,000 kilograms, and with a single step, he directly stomped a thick bluestone, creating a deep crater. Without waiting for the disciple to fall, Yuan Ba fiercely slapped his face and innocently said, "Boss said that he would challenge Chun Go Hu by name." Pa! Yuan Ba's palm was incomparably large and directly covered that disciple's head. Yi Zichen slapped down. That disciple instantly fell to the ground. His body rotated 360 degrees and heavily crashed into the ground. The 5 finger marks on his face were indentations, and all the bones under his skin had been shattered. The other side smashed into the wall, bleeding from the head. His body spasmed a few times. Instant kill. After the battle, Yuan Ba acted like he was nothing and quietly retreated behind Long Fei. It was as if nothing had happened. The entire place was silent. It was so quiet that it made people panic, and they couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. That official disciple, just now, was a peak realm cultivator, and he was killed with a single slap. Moreover, he was still carrying a large stone coffin and hadn't used his full strength at all. If he used his full strength, then his head was about to break from the fan. Yuan Ba naively said, "My boss said to challenge Chun Gohu by name." Long Fei replied, "Chun Lihu." "Oh," Li Yuanba repeated, "Chun Gohu." Long Fei's index finger moved as he pointed at Chun Lihu and said, "Didn't you want to kill me?" Table of contents, half, /float * life. Chapter 7. Thank you for your support. The C said 1 point. The price is set by the website, not I can change. Besides, there are always people in the book circles who say that I copied and tricked people, all sorts of slanderous things about me. I just want to say that if you're really upset, I'm begging you in the ocean, don't look at me. You're tired, and I'm annoyed too. I'm not the R&B. I can't do everybody's thing. I have to work very hard every day, and sometimes I have to take care of my children, and I need an hour and a half to finish every chapter, and I can't bear any longer. I'll continue to work 7 chapters tomorrow, and next week I'll reduce the number of chapters by 2. I want to earn this money, but I also want to live to earn it. So everyone read slowly. And finally, thank you all for your subscriptions, tips, and thank you all. I'm sorry I said. I'm sorry. 8_8419/2356611. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. He couldn't hold it in anymore. Even the gods couldn't help themselves. Wu Haotian bellowed. Elder Chun, without another word. Chun Lihu took a step forward and said, "Long Fei, I want to avenge the 300 dead disciples." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei interrupted him and said, "Don't bother with those useless things. Hurry up and come over." Niu Dahai said loudly, "Boss." Yuan Ling also anxiously replied, "Long Fei." However, Long Fei looked at them like they were strangers and sneered, "Who are you? Get out of my way, will you?" To challenge the Xinjian sect. But the Xinjian sect, Long Fei alone, how could they not be worried? However, they felt that Long Fei's gaze was extremely strange. Why? Niu Dahai and Yuan Ling were both shocked, especially Yuan Ling. She felt that Long Fei had become a completely different person after entering the training grounds. Chun Lihu moved both his hands, both claws striking at Xiang Long Fei's throat. "You dog, hand over your life." Eagle Claw. At the same instant when he attacked, the might of the other party surged forth. The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back, and his arm sank. Magic power of right hand. Bam! Long Fei did not dodge nor retreat. Instead, he rushed forward as he thought to himself, "Those who harm my brother die." It was incomparably fierce. Teleport. Long Fei's figure suddenly disappeared, and when Chun Lihu reacted, Long Fei's fist had already landed on his claw. Crack! His palm was in extreme pain. Chun Lihu's right arm was numb, and his left hand swept upwards. Long Fei still did not dodge. He released the power of the mountain hit fist from his left fist and directly punched his face. At the same time, Chun Lihu's left claw grabbed, and a line of blood appeared on Long Fei's chest. Chun Lihu was pushed back as blood spurted out from his nose. Moonlit step. Chua. Long Fei took a step forward, and without waiting for Chun Lihu to stabilize himself, he cupped his fists. Roar! The large power King Kong ape's shadow superimposed on his body, and his fists were like battle axes, heavily smashing down towards Chun Lihu's head. Get down! Rumble! Kacha, kacha, kacha! From the top of his head, all the bones were broken, his entire body was kneeling on the ground. His face was pale, blood spewed out from his mouth nonstop. He looked at Wu Haoyan, who was standing on the stage. Great clan elder, save me. Long Fei stood beside him and stared coldly at Wu Haoyan. The corner of his mouth turned cold as a fist smashed onto Chun Lihu's temple. The last sliver of blood left in the gash on the top of his head was almost gone. Bam! His body tilted and fell heavily to the ground. Long Fei did not even look at him, stared at Wu Haowu, and said coldly, "Your turn next." The speed of this battle was simply too fast. It was so fast that people were dazzled, and they couldn't see clearly. Elder Chen actually died? He really killed Elder Chun? What just happened? The surrounding people were shocked. Ro Shui's face sank. She thought to herself, this is bad. We are at a point where there is no other way to go about it. Junior Sister Apprentice, is this person really a war chief realm cultivator? His strength is so much stronger than the average war elder realm. This kid, his lips were trembling. He wanted to stop Long Fei, but thinking about what Long Fei had just said and how he had just tortured and killed Chun Lihu, the current Long Fei was already unable to join the Xinjiang sect. No one would agree. Moreover, Wu Haoyan was enraged. What guts? Wu Haoyan raged. You killed an elder of the Xinjiang sect. Today, you will walk out of the Xinjiang peak even if you have 10 lives. Long Fei said arrogantly. I already said, I want to challenge Xinjiang sect. How can I challenge Xinjiang sect if I don't have the guts? Next, Wu Haowu, it's your turn. Wu Haowu took a step forward. His eyes turned sinister as he coldly snorted. Long Fei, you're too arrogant. I am arrogant. I'm just calling you out to stomp on you. Come on. Long Fei arrogantly sneered. Now, that Chun Lihu had died. The next one would be Wu Haowu, and he had to die as well. Because he also touched his brother. Yuan Ling stepped forward and pulled Long Fei back. He shook his head and almost cried, Long Fei, don't, please don't, I'm begging you. There was still a way back. If this went on, there would be no turning back. Furthermore, Wu Haoyan, who still had the War Emperor realm, would never be a match for it no matter how strong he was. Long Fei coldly snorted and said, Who are you? Do I know you well? Get out of my way. While they were talking, Long Fei pushed Yuan Ling away. His eyes was resolute and cold. He didn't want to do that, but this was the only way to help Yuan Ling. If he did not do this, after he escapes, Yuan Ling, Fatty Nyo would definitely be punished by the Xinjiang sect. He would instead harm Yuan Ling and the others. Yuan Ling and Fatty Nyo could not leave the Xinjiang sect. Long Fei's heart ached. If he was strong enough, so he didn't need to be born. Come on, I didn't kill you in the beginning. This time, I will definitely kill you. Long Fei's voice was like thunder, causing the pain in his heart to completely explode outwards. Wu Haowu gritted his teeth so hard that his teeth were popping out. Roaring in rage, the sword on his body moved. Buzz, buzz. The sword hummed. Then, a sword chi surged out, and from his body, tens of sword illusions appeared, leaning against his back with rings on their backs. Returning spring sword, heaven ranked 9 sword technique. Now this Long Fei brat is going to die. Initially, Elder Wu was caught unprepared by the sneak attack, but this time, it is definitely impossible. Elder Wu is an expert of the War Master Ream. You have more than enough strength to deal with an expert of the War Chief. Kid, let's see how you can still act so arrogantly. The surrounding disciples discussed. Just as they had said, the reason Wu Haowu was beaten up was because of Long Fei's sneak attack. Ro Shui could not help but remind Long Fei. Long Fei, you have to be careful of his sword technique. Gentle water. Rumble. Wu Haoyan was enraged and berated If you dare say another word, this old man will cripple you. Wu Haowu's eyes darkened. He stared at Long Fei coldly and said, You dog, under my sword of return to the river Styx, you shall belong to Huang Quan. The sword stabbed out. The illusory sword on his body began to move. It was also at this time. Pon, goo goo. A series of weird growls came out of Long Fei's throat as he sprawled on the ground. Wu Haowu laughed proudly. You want to lie on the ground and play dead? Too late. Before he could finish, road to the netherworld. Toting skill, Long Fei moved his four limbs and his body shot out like a cannonball. Carrot half, /float asterisk life. Wu Haowu had a defensive spirit treasure on him. Ordinary attacks were useless. The toting skill's attack power was different. This time, he wanted Wu Haowu to kneel on the ground and sing a song of conquest. The first chapter, 8_8419/2356612. He ran into it. He ran into it. He ran into it. Are you crazy? Use his body to collide with the sword? Ha ha! You're courting death. The illusory swords on Wu Haowu's body pierced towards Xiang Longfei like a sword snake. Clang, clang, clang. Flames flew in all directions. The illusions of the sword were all broken. As though they were all broken swords, they all fell down. Long Fei's idea sunk, and suddenly roared out, Wu Shuang! Crack! Bam! It heavily smashed into Wu Haowu's chest. Wu Haowu's body caved in, and he revealed a sinister and pained expression as he roared, Trash! It's useless. Your power is completely useless against me. Boom! Wu Haowu flew out and crashed into the stage below. Without any hesitation, he crawled up from the ground and laughed in disdain. Brat, with just you? You can't hurt me, huh? The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised, and lightly smiled, and said, Really? It was also at this time. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as a wave of power surged out. It directly linked to the moment he crashed into Wu Haowu's chest, and the penetrating force of the toting skill entered his body. The moment he linked it with that force, Long Fei shouted, Kill them all! Crack! Put on! Wu Haowu instantly knelt down towards Long Fei. Poo-pee-you! The blood in my mouth continuously bubbled out as I said in pain. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The bear spirit armor on me is a semi-artifact. It's impossible. Big brother, save me. Blood spurted out of his mouth like crazy. His internal organs were like a meat grinder, stirring crazily and corroding completely. Long Fei walked forward step by step until he was in front of Wu Haowu, then smiled. Let's sing a song of conquest. Wu Haowu stared at Long Fei. Long Fei sneered. You're not going to sing it? Forget it. Anyway, you can't sing. If that's the case, then go to hell. Long Fei moved. With one hand on Wu Haowu's neck, he stared at Wu Haoyan, who was standing on the stage, and chuckled. Next. He twisted it. Crack. Rotating his neck 180 degrees, Wu Haowu dead. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Wu Haowu for obtaining an experience point. True Chi 300 points, energy values 100 points. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining bear spirit armor. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining fire knife. The system sounded out a few times. Long Fei also took this opportunity to remove Wu Haowu's space ring. The idea moved and laughed. There are really a lot of things, but they're all trash. This blade is not bad. While they were talking, Long Fei then took out the fire knife and said with a playful smile, Fire knife, ah. Who said just now that there were no fire knife? Is it this grandson? Roshui immediately stepped forward. Elder Wu, what do you say now? Is it still Neo Dahai framing me? Wu Haowu has colluded with Chen Lihu. It is already clear that she is colluding with the Zhou family. What else do you have to say? Waha! Ha! Wu Haoyan let out a cold laugh. It was a laughter filled with an incomparably berserk aura, and his eyes were completely bloodshot. Staring at Long Fei, he said in a heavy tone, "You killed 2 Xinjian sect elders in a row. You must be disciples of the devil sect. Demon sect disciples are disturbing my Xinjian sect." Die! Boom! Wu Haotian moved, his figure becoming like a devil as countless figures dispersed out. Without waiting for Long Fei's response. Bam! A palm smashed into Long Fei's chest. Too fast, too fierce. Long Fei flew backwards like a remnant line, crashing into a wall 100 meters away, causing the entire wall to collapse. War Emperor Realm. This is the power of the War Emperor Realm. Within the ruins, Long Fei clenched his teeth, and with a heavy slap, one of them flew out. Again, with a move of his right hand, he summoned the dragon Salyer out, and with one hand holding the blade, he rushed towards Wu Haotian. Come again. The War Emperor Realm was a hurdle. Back then, Hong Tianjun was a War Emperor Realm. Long Fei didn't even have the chance to retaliate. Now, it's the War Emperor Realm again. No matter what, he couldn't lose this time. Moonlit step. As he flew through the air, Long Fei held onto his blade with both of his hands and roared in his heart, Dragon God's fury. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The dragon Salyer released a series of explosive sounds, like an angry dragon god. Huh? Wu Haotian's eyes turned sinister. He sensed the roars from the dragon Salyer. His expression became cold, and he bellowed, "War Emperor pressure! Get down here!" Boom! Without waiting for the dragon spirit killer to be released, the pressure of the War Emperor immediately broke the link between Long Fei's power and the dragon Salyer's power, and it also instantly interrupted his dragon spirit killer. Bam! Long Fei fell from the sky. He crashed to the ground. Weeping blood in his heart, he shouted, "Are you still not his match? Isn't it? Have I not improved at all this past month? Has not become stronger at all? I don't feel good." Bam! Long Fei stood up and stared at Wu Haotian. Again, the dragon Salyer withdrew. His fist moved, teleport. Shua! Long Fei rushed in front of Wu Haotian and was immediately shaken by the aura of the War Emperor on Wu Haotian's body. Infinite shield. Long Fei released the protective shield. His fists were like hammers, smashing towards Wu Haotian. Bang, bang. The infinite shield could block all the attacks of the War Emperor Realm, but it could not block the attacks of the War Emperor Realm rankers, but it could block the attacks of the War Emperor Qi. 2 punches flew out. It landed on Wu Haotian's chest. 89. His damage was so low that it could barely be described as good. Wu Haotian's eyes became gloomy. Without waiting for Long Fei to jump away, he grabbed on a Long Fei's collar. With his 5 fingers in his palm, he threw out a palm attack. Bam! A force pierced through Long Fei's back, causing his clothes to immediately burst apart. The infinite shield was also instantly destroyed. The power of the War Emperor Realm was too terrifying. Not a match. Not a match. Humph! A trash like you is challenging the Xinjian sect? You think you're worthy? Wu Haotian said in disdain. Bring out your identity as a disciple of the devil's sect. I will give you a complete corpse. I'm talking about your ancestors. Long Fei roared. Again. Whoosh! Released the power of the toting skill, causing Long Fei to rush out like lightning, straight into Wu Haotian's chest. At the same time, Wu Haotian's fist sunk down, causing a loud explosion. Bam! Long Fei flew out and laughed. Extermination! Crack! It was the same. It was a low enough damage to make others speechless. This was the difference. The difference in realms. It could instantly kill Wu Haowu, but when facing the War Emperor Realm, Wu Haotian couldn't even hit up to 4 digits of damage. What should he do? Was there no other way? Even the Dragon Spirit Killer was suppressed. The Dragon Salyer technique was no good. The toting skill was no good. Mountain hit fist, the divine power in his right arm was even weaker. Strongest upgrade system. Really? Was there really no progress in such a long period of time? Nothing at all. Long Fei's heart was as though it was deathly still. This old man doesn't believe it. Chapter 28_8419/2356613 He had lost the last time. He had lost the last time. He lost very thoroughly. What a mess. This time, he absolutely could not lose again, Long Fei said as he gnashed his teeth. It was also at this moment. The Yin Huang ancestor said, "Calm down, kid. What you need right now is calm down. If you continue acting this crazy, you won't even be a match for me." He could feel that Long Fei's mind was filled with the scene of how he was stomped over by Hong Tianjun last time. Long Fei wanted to become strong, with incomparable desire. He was also working hard. However, just like the sand in the palm of your hand, the tighter you grip, the faster it drains. The things on his body are too heavy. Huff! Long Fei let out a heavy breath and said, "Ancestor, thank you for your reminder. I will have to take care of the rest myself." Long Fei's heart immediately calmed down. Hong Tianjun was very strong, the #1 genius of the Southern Domain, but he would become stronger than anyone else. Next, Long Fei looked at Wu Haoyin. Phew. His breathing steadied. Wu Haoyin said in disdain, "What's wrong with you? Just not enough. You're not being arrogant? Isn't he going to challenge the entire Xinjian sect? Aren't you very arrogant? How did you become a dead dog now?" Wu Haoyin shouted arrogantly. The anger in his heart was slowly burning. Yuan Ling was crying so hard that she couldn't say a word. Nyota Hai was the same. They were well aware that the words Long Fei had said just now were to protect them. However, Roshui couldn't help but say, "Great Elder, he isn't even a disciple of the Devil sect. Shut up." Without waiting for Roshui to finish speaking, Wu Haoyin immediately shouted angrily, "Elder Roshui, if you continue to plead on his behalf, I'll kill you too." Roshui was also angry and said, "Wu Haoyin, you dare." The 3 senior fellow apprentices behind her also came forward and said, "Wu Haoyin, don't think that just because you're the great elder you can act unscrupulously. The 4 elders of our sword pavilion are not people that anyone can bully. All men have fire." The 4 of them were enraged as well. While they were talking, Long Fei did not stop. He was thinking of a way. In terms of levels, there was no way to level up in a short period of time. His attack power was too low. The Dragon Salyer was suppressed by his realm and was unable to release the Dragon Spirit Killer. What he needed the most now was to raise his attack power. How can I do it? What can I do if my level doesn't change? Long Fei kept asking himself, and at the same time, opened up the system to check. Suddenly, Long Fei's eyes lit up. Skill level +1. This attribute is useless to him. He's been hesitating all this time to add on some other skill now. Long Fei laughed. The idea moved. Ding. "Do you want to upgrade, Wu Shuang?" Upgrade. Long Fei didn't have any hesitation. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up to level 2. What are the peerless attributes? Once it was activated, his strength would double. This was only the first level of unparalleled. As for Wu Shuang, for times, this was the best way to increase attack power in a short period of time. In that instant, Long Fei began to laugh as he looked at Wu Haoyin coldly. "Since this mad dog of yours insists that I am a disciple of the Devil sect, fine, then I'll let you see my enchantment." As soon as he finished, Long Fei moved enchanted. Boom! The aura around Long Fei's body suddenly changed. In that short moment, every single strand of his body turned from black to blood red, and his pupils also changed. The aura from his body, the devil. This wasn't a disciple of the Devil sect. It was a real devil. Wu Haoyin's eyes stared blankly and instantly began to laugh wildly. "Ha! Did you see that? Did you see that? Didn't I say he was a disciple of the Devil sect? Ha ha!" He never would have thought that Long Fei didn't have the aura of a devil, but now, Long Fei was already a devil. Anyone could tell that he was a demon. The gentle water was stunned. Yuan Ling was shocked, as were all the disciples of the Xinjian sect. Long Fei, transformed into a devil, was simply too handsome. He coldly looked at Wu Haoyin and said, "Are you satisfied now?" Wu Haoyin laughed. "Ha, brat, you're dead for sure. You're dead for sure?" Long Fei took out the Dragon Salyer and bit it. The Autumn Water Blade was taken out. The Fire Knife was taken out. 3 slashes. Long Fei's body sank slightly as 2 pairs of bloody eyes stared at Wu Haoyan. Sauron's techniques kept appearing in his mind, and during this period of time, he had been studying Sauron's techniques. Swish! Demonic chi gushed out from Long Fei's body like a bloody mist. The aura suddenly changed. Long Fei's eyes flashed with a sinister light. His demonic voice sounded extremely arrogant. 3 blade attacks. Ghost slash. At the same time, Long Fei roared in his heart. Level 2 Wu Shuang. Open for me. Rumble. For times the usual strength exploded out, causing Long Fei's body to be unable to withstand the power anymore. Too powerful. For times the stats. Powerful. There was a loud sound from inside his body, and the blood mist from his body rushed out like a storm. The powerful demon Qi crushed the entire martial ring. Shua! Kill! With a jolt of his body, a pair of ghostly eyes appeared in the air. One step. In an instant, Long Fei directly pierced through Wu Haoyan's body. Wu Haoyan's body slightly sank. In that instant, he actually, unexpectedly, he couldn't react at all. He's an expert of the War Emperor realm. His reaction couldn't keep up. In the instant that Long Fei flashed past, he felt pain all over his body, as if his body was going to split apart. Pucci! Wu Haoyan could not hold back and spat out a mouthful of blood. Pan! The clothes on his chest slipped, and 3 long bloody wounds appeared, as if they were the cracks of ghosts and gods. Wu Haoyan spat out another mouthful of blood, the blood surging out from his wound. A bright red number floated above his head. 3,099,99, high explosive damage. However, this was not enough to instantly kill Wu Haoyan. This move, 3 slashes, ghost slash, and even with Long Fei's demon body, it was simply too cool. Too handsome. Amazing to the extreme. Long Fei's mouth loosened as the dragon Salyer also fell down. Creak! The fire knife's body split open. It could not withstand the impact of the 3 blade attacks. Long Fei's heart secretly tensed up. What a pity. It was Fatty Nyo's weapon. But now, it was going to break. Long Fei kept his blade. He turned and coldly said, Wu Haoyan, is this cool? With 3 million damage, he definitely would be able to fly up into the air. Wu Haoyan consecutively swallowed a few medicinal pellets, then clenched both of his fists tightly. The air around him began to emit explosive sounds, and with a grab, a blue ice crystal sword appeared in his hands. Blue Flame Divine Sword, one of the 3 great holy artifacts of the Xianjian sect. It's actually one of the 3 great holy artifacts, the Blue Flame Divine Sword. Roshui immediately shouted, Long Fei run. Chapter 38_8419/2356614. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.